Chapter 1559. Murong was naturally angry with Stella. If it were not for the restriction of strength, he would have killed Stella long ago. However, Stella was too powerful. He was an 8th level chaotic ancestor saint. Not to mention that Murong was only a 1st level holy king. Even a 2nd level holy king would not be able to kill him. Moreover, he knew that if Stella had set his sights on him, he would not be able to get rid of him even if he went to the ends of the earth. However, although Murong was aggrieved, he was not as aggrieved as the Phoenix tribe, because Murong had transferred all of this to them. They knew that Murong could hand over the Phoenix tribe's experts to them directly, but Murong did not do so. Instead, he forced them to confront Stella. If there was an 8th level chaotic ancestor saint among them, they would not be afraid of Stella. On the contrary, it was Stella who was afraid of them. However, they did not have an 8th level chaotic ancestor saint here. Not to mention peerless experts of this level. The strongest expert from the Phoenix clan here was only a rank 5 primal chaos ancestor sage. A 5th level chaotic ancestor saint's strength was extremely terrifying. However, he could not withstand a slap from Stella. What should we do? We can't give up on our people, right? Moreover, the more time passes, the more treasures Murong will ask for. A 3rd level chaotic ancestor saint from the Phoenix tribe said in a deep voice. Murderous intent surged between his brows. Our people will definitely not give up, but Stella is not someone we can suppress. The other experts from the Phoenix tribe suddenly became worried. They did not know what to do. Stella, is there no room for negotiation? After a long time, the experts from the Phoenix tribe still could not find a solution, so they could only discuss it with Stella again. However, Stella had already made up his mind and did not even look at the expert from the Phoenix tribe. This made them even angrier. It seems that we can only send this news back to the Phoenix tribe. We can either send experts over or let them solve it. We can't solve it. The experts from the Phoenix tribe finally decided to ask for help from the Phoenix tribe. Although this was embarrassing for them, they could only do so. Who knew what would happen if this continued? At this moment, in the Mountain Sea secret realm, Murong face was still gloomy. If he wanted to leave, Stella wouldn't be able to stop him. But with Stella blocking the door, he couldn't calm down. Husband, of course we're not his match now. In that case, he would just leave him hanging. You can just kill him when you're stronger in the future. Why get angry? Mu Liue comforted Murong as she massaged his shoulders. Murong nodded. He had always handled things this way. However, the anger in his heart was still not appeased. Kurlon glared at Murong and said, Husband, why don't you ask the Infernal Bureau for help? I believe that with the seamless agency's strength, killing a mere Stella shouldn't be a problem. Murong quickly shook his head. From the beginning to the end, the Infernal Branch had not appeared, but Murong believed that his senior brothers would not ignore this matter. They must have been delayed by something. However, if Murong asked for help, they would definitely appear. However, if the Infernal Branch made a move, it would be a direct confrontation with the Fiend race. They might even become enemies with the entire Holy World. This was something Murong didn't want to see. He didn't want to drag the Infernal Branch down with him. Although the Infernal Branch was powerful, they weren't invincible. If someone died because of this matter, Murong didn't want it. It's so lively here. 18 junior brother, you actually didn't inform your 4 senior brother. You're too mean. At this moment, a faint voice sounded in the Mountain Sea secret realm. 4th senior brother Yu Yangjia. Hearing this voice, Murong jumped in fright. What he wanted really came true. Murong wasn't the only one who was shocked. Many experts outside the Mountain Sea secret realm were shocked as well. Ordinary people naturally didn't know who Yu Yangjia was. However, some of the peerless experts from the major factions knew who he was. What kind of cultivation realm did the strongest of the 18 disciples of the Infernal Branch reach? No one knew. They only knew that he was the strongest, and his strength was extremely terrifying. That Yu Yangjia who's ranked 10th on the holy rankings? As soon as Murong's clone appeared outside the Mountain Sea secret realm, he heard a cry of surprise from the crowd. Murong was stunned. Before he could react, an incomparably huge fist smashed through the sky and smashed towards him. Stella actually made a move again. Oof. Murong didn't do anything, but Yu Yangjia, who was standing in the sky, snorted coldly. He didn't do anything, but he flicked his finger. With a chi sound, an invisible ray of holy light shot out from his fingertip. In an instant, it pierced through billions of space-time barriers and directly hit Stella's fist. With a pu sound, Stella's fist disappeared between heaven and earth. At the same time, Stella snorted coldly in the distance. The people around him saw Stella's tall figure tremble, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. He was injured. This Yu Yangjia is so strong. The people around were shocked. On the other hand, Stella looked at Yu Yangjia in shock. He didn't dare to make another move. The 10th on the Saint ranking is indeed terrifying. Today, I, Stella, admit defeat. Stella shouted at Yu Yangjia, then turned to leave. Did I say you could leave? Yu Yangjia's indifferent voice sounded. Suddenly, Stella's figure trembled violently, and he stopped on the spot. His expression kept changing. He didn't dare to leave. What is this Saint ranking? Why is Stella so terrifying? Many people present were like Murong. They had never heard of this thing called the Saint ranking. Are you a country bumpkin? Some people who knew about the Saint ranking glanced at those who didn't know proudly with a smug look on their faces. However, some people had already started to explain. The Saint ranking is a ranking of strength created by heaven and earth in the holy world. As long as one's strength reaches the standard and is below the supremacy realm, one can be listed on the Saint ranking. However, there are only 108,000 people on the Saint ranking. Those who could be listed on the Saint ranking are the top existences in the holy world. Yu Yangjia is the 10th on the Saint ranking. Hearing this explanation, the people around couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air, and they all looked at Yu Yangjia with eyes full of fear. Even Murong was shocked. He knew that Yu Yangjia was strong, but he didn't expect Yu Yangjia's strength to be so terrifying. One had to know that the experts in the holy world were as numerous as the sand in the Ganges River. Those who could be listed on the Saint ranking were the top existences in the holy world, and Yu Yangjia was in the top 10. How terrifying was his true strength? It seems like this fourth senior brother of mine is still hiding his strength. Murong thought to himself, but he still went up to Yu Yangjia. After knowing how terrifying Yu Yangjia was, no one dared to have any ideas about Murong, and no one dared to make a move again. 18th junior brother, why didn't you tell me that such a big thing happened? Yu Yangjia looked at Murong and said with displeasure. Murong chuckled. Isn't it because I didn't want to disturb senior brothers? Moreover, I can deal with these small matters. Good kid, don't try to be brave. If you fall that day, it'll be too late for regrets. Yu Yangjia patted Murong's shoulder and said with a smile, as if the people around him were nothing. However, the surrounding people didn't have any temper. Yu Yangjia was a terrifying existence, and he wasn't someone they could afford to offend. Murong rolled his eyes and was speechless. Was there anyone who told their junior brother like this? What do you plan to do with this guy? Do you want me to help you kill him? Yu Yangjia said indifferently as he pointed at Stella. He didn't treat Stella as an expert at all, but as an ant. Stella's heart turned cold. With Yu Yangjia's strength, killing him would be as easy as flipping his hand. He didn't even have the strength to resist. However, Murong shook his head. Fourth senior brother, let him go for now. One day, I'll personally take his head. Murong didn't want to rely on other people's strength. This wasn't good for his growth. Yu Yangjia nodded and looked at Stella, scram. Stella turned around and gave Murong a deep look, then quickly left. Senior brother, why don't you come to the Mountain Sea secret realm and have a seat? Murong immediately invited Yu Yangjia. It was reasonable for him to invite Yu Yangjia. However, Yu Yangjia shook his head. I still have something to do. This time, I'm just passing by to see you. I'll be leaving soon. As he spoke, Yu Yangjia glanced at the surrounding people. When they met Yu Yangjia's gaze, the surrounding people felt a chill in their hearts. Suddenly, they felt like ants standing in front of a mountain. This was the difference between them and Yu Yangjia. I know that many people covet my 18th junior brother's body and Hichu Luo Shu. However, I want to warn some people that I don't want to see some people bully the weak. It's fine for the younger generation to fight. If I discover such people, don't blame me for being rude." Before he even finished speaking, Yu Yangjia's figure disappeared with a flash. He had directly left. On the other hand, Murong Yu's face was filled with depression and gratitude. Yu Yangjia's words had inadvertently helped Murong Yu avoid a lot of trouble. As a result, the experts at the Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint level probably wouldn't dare to make a move. This was because once Yu Yangjia discovered them, he would go talk to them about life and ideals. How many people in the Saints world could stand up to a terrifying existence like Yu Yangjia? Murong Yu couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Although he wasn't afraid of making the entire world his enemy, the pressure was just too great. Chapter 1560. After forcing Stella away, no one dared to attack Murong Yu anymore. Although Yu Yangjia had left, who knew if he had really left or if he was just hiding in the dark? If they hadn't left yet, Yu Yangjia would have killed anyone who dared to make a move against Murong Yu. What should we do? Many of the people around were experts from various large factions. There was no lack of supreme experts among them. The reason they were gathered here was naturally for Murong Yu's body and the He Tu and Luo Shu. However, Yu Yangjia's words earlier caused them to have many misgivings. Yu Yangjia only said that we can't bully the weak. I think he was referring to the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage. As long as the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage doesn't attack, I don't think Yu Yangjia will either. But Murong Yu is too strong. I'm afraid no one below the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage is a match for him. Someone muttered, "The Saints' world is very big. There are many powerful people. Murong Yu isn't the only one." When the news of Yu Yangjia spread, many factions in the Saints' world came to a consensus. They wouldn't bully the weak. The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage wouldn't attack. After all, Yu Yangjia, who was ranked 10th on the Saint rankings, was under too much pressure. Of course, not everyone was afraid of Yu Yangjia. Some people were disdainful. There were even some independent cultivators who didn't take Yu Yangjia seriously. So what if he was ranked 10th on the Saint rankings? As long as I killed Murong Yu and found a place to hide, would you be able to find me? As long as I seize Murong Yu's body and the He Tu and Luo Shu, once my strength reaches large success. So what if he's Yu Yangjia? Therefore, although Murong Yu was under less pressure, it wasn't without danger. Murong Yu, shouldn't you release the experts of the Phoenix clan? A supreme expert from the Phoenix clan stepped out and asked Murong Yu in a deep voice. However, although he didn't look too good, he was still very polite. Right now, many people from the Phoenix clan were in Murong Yu's hands. Murong Yu had nothing to fear. If he was angered with his character, he would definitely kill the Phoenixes. In the past 100 years, they have consumed a lot of my resources. Shouldn't you guys compensate me? Murong Yu's avatar walked over and looked at the Phoenix clan's experts with a smile. Hearing this, everyone from the Phoenix clan cursed in their hearts. On the other hand, the spectating experts of the human clan and other races were delighted. The Phoenix clan was one of the top clans in the Saint clan. They had always been high and mighty, looking down on the human clan and the monster clan. Now that they saw them suffer, they naturally felt happy. We only have some of the treasures that we brought with us. We can only go back and take more treasures. However, it will take a lot of time. The leading expert from the Phoenix clan said in a deep voice. Murong Yu pondered for a moment, then grinned. Is that so? All right. I'm a reasonable and understanding person. I don't need you to return to the Phoenix clan to take more treasures. Hearing this, many experts from the Phoenix clan couldn't help but feel relieved. However, the surrounding people were all shocked. It didn't seem like Murong Yu's style to make such a decision. Was he afraid of the Phoenix clan? However, they were all wrong, because Murong Yu hadn't finished speaking. How about this? Give me the treasures that you have recognized as your master, and you can take them back to your clansmen. Hearing this, the many powerhouses of the Phoenix clan who were originally relieved almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This was being reasonable? This was being reasonable? What a jerk. This is Murong Yu's style. Seeing how the experts from the Phoenix clan were about to vomit blood, The smiles on the surrounding people's faces became even brighter. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Murong-yu looked at the experts from the Phoenix clan in confusion. Of course, he was pretending to be confused. No problem, the leading expert from the Phoenix clan said through gritted teeth. As he spoke, he thought to himself, Murong-yu, you little bastard, don't fall into my hands in the future. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. Hand over your primal chaos ancestor saint, said the leading expert in a deep voice. Then, the leading expert from the Phoenix clan removed his primal chaos ancestor saint from his primal chaos ancestor saint. Puffed. This time, he really vomited blood. The other experts from the Phoenix clan all looked at Murong-yu as if they wanted to eat him alive. They couldn't wait to slap Murong-yu to death. They were extremely unwilling to be played by Murong-yu like this, but they had no choice since the hostage was in Murong-yu's hands. If the person standing in front of them wasn't Murong-yu's power clone, but himself, they definitely wouldn't mind killing Murong-yu directly. But now, they forcefully resisted the urge to kill Murong-yu. It was easy to kill Murong-yu's doppelganger, and it was also easy to infuriate Murong-yu, but after that, it would be difficult to get their clansmen back. Thus, each and every one of them removed the ownership of their primal chaos ancestral weapons and handed it over to Murong-yu along with the food expenses they had prepared. Are these the only treasures you have? After receiving it, Murong-yu checked it and directly teleported into the Mountain Sea secret realm. Then, he looked at the many experts of the Phoenix clan with a smile. Murong-yu, don't go too far. The leader of the Phoenix clan said angrily. Their saint artifacts were the most compatible with them. Moreover, they had used them for countless years, so they had long since gotten used to it. In their hands, they could unleash 120% of the full power. Even if they obtained the Chaos Ancestral weapons again, they might not be able to have such a high compatibility, and they might not be able to unleash such a powerful power. Seeing the people of the Phoenix clan staring at him angrily, Murong-yu smiled faintly. I'm a reasonable person. Forget it. Let's leave it at that. Reasonable my ass. Many experts of the Phoenix clan were furious. They gritted their teeth and cursed. Before Murong-yu could finish his sentence, the experts of the Phoenix clan who had been imprisoned by him for more than 100 years appeared in front of the many experts of the Phoenix clan. You have to check carefully. They are unharmed. Murong-yu was still smiling. Murong-yu. As soon as he appeared, the young man of the Phoenix clan, who had half of his face smashed by Murong-yu, could not help but curse at Murong-yu. However, he was quickly slapped unconscious by the peerless expert leading the Phoenix clan. He knew that many people from various forces had suffered this loss. If he angered Murong-yu at this time, the resources needed to redeem these people would definitely be even more terrifying. With Murong-yu's fearless personality, he would definitely ask for an exorbitant price. Goodbye. Afraid that the others would make a mistake, the peerless expert of the Phoenix clan hurriedly sent a voice transmission to the people released by Murong-yu. Therefore, everyone fell silent. Then, they quickly left. Everyone, you are welcome to be guests in the future. Murong-yu waved his hand at the experts of the Phoenix clan. The people of the Phoenix clan staggered and then moved even faster. They disappeared in front of Murong-yu like shooting stars. Everyone, you are also welcome to be guests. Murong-yu turned around and smiled at the people who were watching the show. Then, he disappeared in a flash. The harvest this time is huge. At least, it's enough for the time being. However, if Shenzhen wants to develop as soon as possible, he still needs a lot of resources. However, those resources can't be solved in a day or two. In the Mountain Sea secret realm, Murong-yu roughly counted his gains and then smiled so widely that he couldn't close his mouth. Now that there were a large number of ferocious beasts in the Mountain Sea secret realm that could be provided to Shenzhen's disciples, they didn't need to leave the Mountain Sea secret realm for the time being. Therefore, Murong-yu didn't want to touch the Mountain Sea secret realm for the time being. He decided to leave the Mountain Sea secret realm here. He would leave it here to give others a huge surprise in the future. Because Yu Mengqing, Duan Muqing, Zhang Ao, and the others were in charge of Shenzhen, Murong-yu once again became a hands-off boss. However, at this time, he entered the Hichu Luoshu and pulled Hichu to his side. Hichu, tell me what's going on with the saint ranking. Why haven't I heard of it before? And how did my fourth senior brother get to the 10th place? This question troubled Murong Yu for a long time. Originally, he wanted to ask Murong Yu directly. However, he left too quickly, leaving Murong Yu with no one to ask. In the end, he could only ask Hichu, the encyclopedia. The saint ranking is a list automatically generated by the heaven and earth of the saint's world. It records a total of 108,000 peerless experts with the strongest battle strength in the saint's world. It is something that only the top experts can come into contact with. How many primal chaos ancestral saints are there in the saint's world? Murong, you didn't know, but a sacred land of the human race had at least 100,000 primal chaos ancestral saints. Just the human race had 10 sacred lands, and there were some quasi-saint lands. In addition to some other forces and row cultivators, there were definitely more than 100 million primal chaos ancestral saints. The demon race's peerless experts should be about the same as the human race. And the sacred race's peerless experts were even more. Among so many people, Yu Yangzhou is actually ranked 10th. How terrifying was that? However, this wasn't what Murong Yu didn't understand. He firmly believed that someone like the Sectless Dao Master was definitely much stronger than Yu Yangzhou. And there were many people like that. Could it be that Yu Yangzhou was stronger than them? Murong Yu felt that this wasn't the case. The saint ranking is automatically generated by the heaven and earth of the saint's world. As long as one is in the saint's world will capture everything about that person. Then, when one's battle strength reaches a certain level, they can be listed on the saint ranking. Most of the rankings on the saint ranking are normal. The Sectless Dao Master and the others probably aren't on the saint ranking. Or maybe they have already surpassed the primal chaos ancestral saints. Hichu explained, surpassing the primal chaos ancestral saints. Didn't that mean they had reached the sovereign realm? Didn't the saints' world only have 10 sovereigns? Chapter 1561. Were there really only 10 sovereigns in the saint's world? Murong, you couldn't make sense of this. The saint ranking existed in the depths of the saint's world's primal chaos. It was not something that ordinary people could approach. Therefore, no matter how curious Murong Yu was, he could only suppress that thought. The current Shenzhen was barely on the right track. For the time being, Murong Yu did not have to work hard for Shenzhen's resources. Therefore, Murong Yu became relaxed and had nothing to do. Apart from cultivating, Murong Yu spent time with Yu Mengqing and the others. When he had time, he would also guide the cultivation of Shenzhen's disciples. His days were spent leisurely. However, on this day, Murong Yu's leisure life was disrupted by a furious roar from afar. "Murong Yu, get out here!" A thunderous voice rang out, causing ripples to appear in the void. Murong Yu furrowed his brows. Nowadays, there wasn't anyone who dared to shout at him like that. This person definitely had something to rely on, since he dared to do this. One of Murong Yu's clones immediately appeared outside the Mountain Sea secret realm and shouted coldly, "Who's making a ruckus again? Murong Yu, I want to duel with you." A young man walked over and glared at Murong Yu with a murderous look. His eyes were filled with resentment. Murong Yu looked over, and a smile appeared on his face. And here I was wondering who it was. "So it's you, Luda, the loser. What? You want to duel with me? Wasn't the lesson from last time not enough?" Luda was furious. His face alternated between green and white as he looked at Murong Yu furiously. If it wasn't for the Mountain Sea secret realm, how could he have lost to Murong Yu? How could he have been captured by Murong Yu? That was the shame of his life. After leaving the Mountain Sea secret realm, Luda returned to the heaven-suppressing sect and entered one of the secret realms to cultivate. Now, after more than 100 years, his strength had skyrocketed by several times. In the end, he could no longer resist the urge to suppress Murong Yu and take revenge for what had happened that day. Now, Murong Yu had become a demon in his heart. If he couldn't kill Murong Yu, he would die. In that case, he could forget about breaking through and reaching the primal chaos ancestor's saint realm. "What? Are you afraid to accept my challenge?" Luda sneered, thinking that Murong Yu was afraid. You're just relying on the power of the mountain and sea scripture. If we were outside, I could crush you to death with a single finger. However, I will give you a chance. Immediately kneel down and kowtow to me, beg for mercy, and I will spare your life. Murong Yu's avatar took a deep look at Luda, then smiled disdainfully and said, not interested. Then he turned to leave. Ha ha, Luda didn't stop him. He just laughed. After laughing 3 times, Luda stopped laughing and said in a deep voice, Murong Yu, you coward, despicable person. I will wait for you in the Flying Sand Secret Realm in 3 months. Don't worry, the Flying Sand Secret Realm also has the ability to suppress one's realm. The highest strength is only the peak of the Primal Chaos Ancestors Saint Realm. If you don't show up in 3 months, if I were you, I would just kill myself. After saying that, Luda turned and left without looking back. He wasn't afraid that Murong Yu would attack him. Even if Murong Yu wanted to attack him, he wasn't afraid because he was confident that he could fight against Murong Yu. I wonder if Murong Yu will accept the challenge? This is a battle of dignity. Luda's voice spread far and wide, and countless people heard it. Luda might have already made arrangements in the Flying Sand Secret Realm. Murong Yu will definitely be in danger if he goes. He won't go, right? If it was me, I wouldn't go either. Everyone discussed. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a trace of light. Luda prepared 10 Primal Chaos Ancestral Saints. I accept your challenge. While everyone was discussing, Murong Yu's voice had already spread out. Luda, who was quickly leaving, paused, and then a cold smile appeared on his face. When the time came, he would definitely kill Murong Yu. Murong Yu really accepted Luda's challenge? I wonder if he's too confident or too arrogant. Everyone was shocked at first, and then they started discussing again. Husband, you really accepted Luda's challenge? In the Mountain Sea Secret Realm, Yu Mengqing and the other 3 looked at Murong Yu with a worried expression. Murong Yu smiled faintly and said indifferently, It's just Luda. I can easily stomp him to death. Kurlon glared at him. Luda is just a small character. But don't forget that Luda has the heaven-suppressing sect behind him. I definitely don't believe that the heaven-suppressing sect won't do anything. Husband, I think it's better not to go. It's too dangerous. Mu Liyue and Situ Xian also hurriedly tried to persuade him. However, Murong Yu shook his head. He was not afraid that the heaven-suppressing sect would make a move. As long as he was in the Flying Sand Secret Realm, Murong Yu was not afraid. Moreover, he still had a trump card. If the heaven-suppressing sect really dared to make a move, he would definitely give them an unforgettable memory. 3 months was very short, and although the Flying Sand Secret Realm was not far from the Mountain Sea Secret Realm, it was not close either. Therefore, after a few days, Murong Yu left the Mountain Sea Secret Realm and headed towards the Flying Sand Secret Realm. In these few days, Yu Mengqing and the others persuaded Murong Yu no less than 100 times, but Murong Yu still did not change his mind. He even rejected Yu Mengqing and the other suggestion to go together. Although Murong Yu had said that he did not place Luda in his eyes, Luda was not a threat. However, he also knew that Yu Mengqing and the others were telling the truth. He also knew the potential danger this time. Since there was danger, he would rather go alone than let Yu Mengqing and the others take the risk. Moreover, even if Murong Yu died, it would not be a big deal, because he still had a clone. As long as the clone did not die, he would not really die. This was his biggest trump card. Until now, except for Zhao Jiqing, no one else knew that Murong Yu had a clone. It was not that Murong Yu did not trust Yu Mengqing and the others. It was just that this really needed to be kept a secret. The more people who knew, the more likely it would be leaked. Time continued to pass, and in a flash, more than 2 months had passed. What's going on? Why did Murong Yu appear? Could it be that he changed his mind and did not dare to go to the Flying Sand Secret Realm? There were many experts hidden at the exit of the Mountain Sea Secret Realm. They all knew that Murong Yu was preparing to go to the Flying Sand Secret Realm, so they ambushed here, wanting to kill Murong Yu in one fell swoop. However, not to mention Murong Yu, Even Shenzhen's disciples did not appear. Aya, how can I be so stupid? Moronyu has Hichu Luoshu. Hichu Luoshu can be directly teleported. Maybe Moronyu has already left here. We actually ambushed here stupidly. What idiots. Suddenly, a chaotic ancestor saint who had suppressed his realm shouted in annoyance. It seems to be true, damn it. We have been smart all our lives, but this time we are stupid. The others immediately reacted. All of them were annoyed. Then, everyone had already left. At this time, Moronyu had already entered the Flying Sand secret realm. It was worth mentioning that there were also many people looking for Moronyu in front of the Flying Sand secret realm. However, they did not notice Moronyu, who had changed his appearance at all. Moronyu was a soul saint, so those people would not be able to detect him if he casually changed his soul aura. Therefore, he entered the Flying Sand secret realm without any obstruction. The Flying Sand secret realm was indeed worthy of its name. There was flying sand everywhere. As soon as he entered, he saw yellow sand all over the sky. The wind whistled, and the sand and dust danced. Although it was not so dark that he could not see his fingers, the visibility was extremely low. It was less than 10,000 miles. Morongyu's incomparably huge divine thought immediately dissipated. Puff, puff, puff. A burst of flying sand shot over. In just an instant, Morongyu's divine thought was pierced by hundreds of millions of flying sand, and then it was crushed into powder. These flying sand actually had something to do with shattering divine thought. Moronyu frowned slightly. After trying many times in a row, he found that his divine thought could only extend to 10,000 miles at most. It couldn't go any further. It was about the same distance as his eyesight. In other words, his divine thought was almost useless. I wonder if I can enter Hichu Luoshu. No, Moronyu just had this thought in his mind, and Hichu's firm voice sounded in his mind. The space here is extremely unstable. If you enter Hichu Luoshu, there is a 70% chance that you will rush into the turbulent space. Morongyu's heart sank. Immediately entering Hichu Luoshu and teleporting away had always been Morongyu's biggest reliance. Now that he had lost this ability, his life-saving ability was instantly reduced. However, that was all there was to it. Moronyu wasn't afraid. The center of the Flying Sand secret realm was different from other places. There seemed to be a large array set up here, and the surrounding flying sand could not spread here. Although the range was not large, it was still 10,000 miles in radius. At this moment, Ludus stood there with his hands crossed in front of his chest. If it wasn't for the sneer that flashed across his face from time to time, he would really have the demeanor of a peerless expert. This place was already surrounded by countless experts. All of them were here to watch the show or had evil intentions. Young Master Lu, 3 months have passed, and Moronyu still hasn't come. I'm afraid he's too timid to come, or he might have been killed by others on the way. Are we still going to wait? An ancestor disciple of the heaven-suppressing sect walked to Lu Da's side and said in a flattering voice. A hint of impatience flashed across Lu Da's face, but he still said in a deep voice, "There's no harm in waiting for a few more days." Before Lu Da's voice fell, he saw a commotion in the crowd. Then these experts automatically stepped back and formed a path. Moronyu slowly walked along this path. There's no need to wait. Lu Da, did you bring the Chaos Ancestral Artifacts? If not, I won't make a move. Lu Da opened his eyes, and a cold, killing intent flashed across his eyes. Then he waved his hand, and 10 Chaos Ancestral Artifacts floated in the void before him. Chapter 1562. When Moronyu stepped into the Flying Sand secret realm and appeared in front of Lu Da, Yu Mengxing and the others secretly left the Mountain Sea secret realm. The Mountain Sea secret realm was completely under Morongyu's control. Before leaving the Mountain Sea secret realm, Moronyu temporarily handed over a portion of the control ability to Yu Mengxing and the others. They temporarily became the masters of the Mountain Sea secret realm and could freely enter and leave the Mountain Sea secret realm. Sister-in-law, let us leave the Mountain Sea secret realm. Before Yu Mengqing and the others left the Mountain Sea secret realm, Fan Tong found the four of them. Murong Yu was ruthless to his enemies, but he was very good to his own people. A group of his brothers, whether it was Li Fengji, who he knew in the mortal world, or Zhang Ao, the Little Lion King, and the others in the cultivation world, or his friends in the immortal world, such as Shangguan Jingjing, Elder Yi, Old Master Shangguan, and the others, they all received special treatment from Murong Yu. Every single one of them had successfully ascended and become a saint. Moreover, as long as they continued, they would eventually become immortal and indestructible existences. After all, Murong Yu was a person who valued friendship. These people had more or less helped him in the past, so he had never forgotten them. However, he had helped them too much. This made Fan Tong and the others feel uncomfortable. Moreover, as Murong Yu's former brothers and friends, some of them were even much stronger than Murong Yu back then. But now, not only were they far behind Murong Yu, but they could only rely on the resources provided by Murong Yu to improve their realm. This made them feel uncomfortable. Moreover, when they learned that Murong Yu was now the enemy of the entire world, they felt even more uncomfortable. Therefore, they wanted to leave Shenzhen and go to the Holy World to explore. In the Mountain Sea secret realm, their strength would continue to increase. However, the gap between them and Murong Yu would definitely grow bigger and bigger. Therefore, they wanted to go to the Holy World to explore. Perhaps they would have some fortuitous encounter that would increase their strength and help Murong Yu. Even if Murong Yu still maintained the same relationship with them as before, they wouldn't be able to remain brothers in the long run. Yu Mengqing and the others understood this, so they used the power of the Mountain Sea secret realm to teleport Fan Tong and the others away. Then, the four of them left to search for their own fortunes. At this point, almost everyone who was close to Murong Yu had left the Mountain Sea secret realm. However, the person overseeing the Mountain Sea secret realm was Zhang Ao, Duan Muqing, Yu Jia, and the other former commanders of the four great battle teams. While Yu Mengqing and the others were leaving the Mountain Sea secret realm, the saint's world, Zhen Shengzhen, which was Murong Yu's son, Murong Xian, and a few others, had joined forces to establish a sect. At this moment, in the main hall, Murong Yu's 2 sons, 2 daughters, and son-in-law, the large black dog, Li Ling, and the others were all gathered together. Other than little Z, who was sleeping on the large black dog's back, who still looked the same as when she met Murong Yu in the cultivation world, the others all had monstrous auras. If Murong Yu was here, he would definitely be shocked. The strongest person here was actually the large black dog. No one knew how many things this guy had swallowed, but he had already reached the Saint King realm, and he was a mid-level Saint King. He had directly surpassed Murong Yu. The others' realms were not bad either. The highest, Murong Xian, had already reached the 9th level of the Ancient Saint realm. Murong Xian, Li Ling, and the others were not bad either. They had all reached the Ancient Saint realm. No one knew what kind of fortuitous encounter they had. However, these people were all frowning, because during this time, many things had happened in Zhen Shengzhen that were difficult for them to deal with. Woof woof. Right now, little Z is sleeping all day, and I don't know the reason. I'm worried that something bad will happen. I plan to leave Zhen Shengzhen first and go look for the Lord, the large black dog said somewhat unhappily in the silent great hall. First, it was the fire-eyed golden ape, then little Z. Murong Xian frowned slightly. Not long ago, the fire-eyed golden ape clan of the demon race came. Without a second word, they directly brought the fire-eyed golden ape away. The fire-eyed golden ape and Murong Xian were naturally unwilling. Hence, they started to resist. However, the fire-eyed golden ape clan's people were really too terrifying. They actually mobilized the Chaos Ancestor Saint, although the strength of Murong Xian and the others was not bad, and even had the battle prowess to kill people above their realms. However, the gap between their realms and the Chaos Ancestor Saint was too great. They were directly suppressed by the other party. In the end, if not for the fire-eyed golden ape expressing that he would return with those people, Murong Xian and the others would probably have been killed by the other party. After this incident, Murong Xian and the others were unwilling, feeling that their strength was still too weak. They could not even protect the people around them. What was this? After the fire-eyed golden ape, little Z fell into a deep sleep. Murong Xian and the others tried their best, but they were unable to wake little Z up. If not for little Z still breathing faintly, the large black dog and the others would be worried that little Z's lifespan had run out. After all, she still did not have any realm or strength. The mystery of her identity. Little Ape King, Little Lion King, and Little Rock King sent news from a clan. The fire-eyed golden ape should be fine. He was just captured to cultivate. He should acknowledge his ancestors and return to the clan. Everyone, don't worry, Murong Xian said at this time. Father is now the enemy of the entire world, and we are still unable to help. Moreover, once our identities are revealed, we will be a burden to Father. Therefore, I suggest that we continue to cultivate in the following time and strive to reach the Chaos Ancestor Saint Realm in the shortest time possible. At that time, we won't be afraid that others will capture us to threaten Father. Murong Xian's husband, one of Murong Yu's two sons-in-law, Gu Xiaoyong, said at this time. At this time, Murong Yu's second disciple, Gu Kai, said somewhat unhappily, all of you have ancient inheritances, and your strength has increased incomparably quickly. Only I am depressed. Li Ling grinned. Junior brother, I also don't have an inheritance, right? But we all have masters. It is more than enough to cultivate master's cultivation technique. And your physique, TSK, diamond body, you can withstand the attack of an expert a realm higher than you, without any pressure at all, right? Gu Kai, Murong Yu's second disciple. A disciple taken in the desolate world. Back then, Murong Yu took him in because he had a pure heart. However, some time ago, his physical body had suddenly awakened. It was actually diamond body. There was no powerful attack power, no terrifying defense power. But Gu Kai's physical body was extremely terrifying. He was now in the Empyrean Saint Realm, and as long as it was in existence below the Ancestor Saint Realm, it would be impossible to injure his physical body. Then, coupled with his explosive power, his combat strength was one of the top among Murong Xian and the others. Gu Kai scratched his head and smiled foolishly. It is still inferior to senior brother's war-sacred body. Its killing power is too terrifying. Just the killing intent that erupts from it can kill someone a realm higher than you, right? Originally, Li Ling's physique was the war-sacred body. But after ascending to the holy world, it transformed. At this time, the power of the war's sacred body was gradually revealed, and its power was extremely terrifying. You two, stop flattering each other. I know that you two brothers are strong. Murong Xian rolled his eyes, somewhat speechless at this junior brother. Junior brother, you're not bad either. Although you two do not have special physiques, but what you have are all ancient inheritances. Once you grow, TSK, apart from Master, who will be a match for you two. Murong Xian and Murong Yi both received inheritances, and their inheritances were even stronger than Gu Xiaoyong, Murong Lin, and the others. In short, none of the people in this large hall were ordinary. And if they were not Murong Yu's children, then they were his disciples. In comparison, Fan Tong and the others who had been in Shenzhen and had not left were relatively inferior. Of course, Fan Tong and the others' aptitudes were not inferior to Murong Xian and the others at all. What they lacked was an opportunity. Once they also had such a fortuitous encounter, their strength would increase to an extremely terrifying level. For example, the Little Ape King, Little Lion King, and the others, after returning to their clans in the Holy World, the speed at which their strength increased was called skyrocketing. Woof, all of you go cultivate. I also have to go back to find Master. What about the heaven-suppressing sect? Black Dog barked and said, It's fine, don't worry. The two of us will guard here. Li Ling waved his hand and said indifferently. Thus, They all went their separate ways and left Shenzhen. Whoosh! 10 chaos ancestral artifacts lined up in a row in front of Luda. Then Luda grabbed at the air, and in the next moment, a long sword emitting an extremely terrifying aura appeared in his heart. The moment the long sword appeared, Murong Yu's heart could not help but thump. At the same time, in the Hichu Luo Shu, a long sword seemed to have resonated with it. It actually began to boil on its own, constantly trembling and emitting a sword cry. This is one of the 4 great immortal swords. Murong Yu's pupils suddenly shrank, and he could not help but exclaim in his heart. The 4 great immortal swords were the immortal slaying sword, immortal slaughtering sword, immortal trapping sword, and immortal ending sword. Among them, Murong Yu obtained the immortal ending sword in the Holy World. At that time, Murong Yu still wanted to find all of the 4 great immortal swords. This was because Hichu said that if the 4 great immortal swords were combined, they would have an incredible power. However, later on, Murong Yu did not find any of the remaining 3 of the 4 great immortal swords. Moreover, because Murong Yu's strength increased rapidly, he quickly became a god, or even a sage. Now, he had even become a high-level sage. In fact, if not for the immortal sword in Luda's hand, Murong Yu would have forgotten about the 4 great immortal swords. The immortal ending sword had long been sealed in the Hichu Luo Shu. If not for the fact that the immortal ending sword was too weak, it would have been smelted by Murong Yu with the chaos furnace. However, Murong Yu was now somewhat relieved. If not for the fact that the immortal ending sword's power was too weak and was not smelted, Murong Yu would definitely regret it. This was because the power of the immortal sword in Luda's hand was really terrifying. How could it still be an immortal weapon? It had long surpassed the ordinary chaos ancestral weapons. If the 4 great immortal swords were combined, they would definitely be restored to their original appearance. Moreover, Murong Yu vaguely guessed that the combination of the 4 great immortal swords would definitely give him a big surprise. If the 4 great immortal swords were not immortal weapons, what were they? Chaos ancestral weapons? Supreme weapons? Or ruler weapons? Chapter 1563. The immortal slaughtering sword was a sacred artifact that Luda had obtained in a secret realm not long ago. Although he didn't know why it was called the immortal slaughtering sword, after all, they were in the Holy World. Even the most powerful immortals were like ants in front of the lowest level saints. However, it was just a name, so Luda didn't care much about it. This was because he realized that the immortal slaughtering sword was an extremely terrifying sacred artifact. Originally, his strength was strong enough. However, he couldn't kill enemies above his level. Even if he was a peak ancestor sage, he was far from being a match for a primal chaos ancestor sage. However, when he obtained the immortal slaughtering sword, he was in danger. He was chased by a primal chaos ancestor sage. In the end, Luda fought back angrily and took out the immortal slaughtering sword. It was also at this time that Luda discovered the terror of the immortal slaughtering sword. Its power was definitely beyond ordinary primal chaos ancestor artifacts. And most importantly, it didn't consume much of his strength. With the immortal slaughtering sword in hand, Luda's strength skyrocketed as if he was assisted by God. In the end, he directly killed the first stage primal chaos ancestor sage. The immortal slaughtering sword gave Luda the terrifying strength to kill people above his level. Then, he cultivated for a period of time and became even stronger than before. It was because of this that he dared to challenge Murong Yu. He was confident that he could kill Murong Yu. With the sword in your hand, I will fight with you. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about. Murong Yu resisted the strong urge to snatch the immortal slaughtering sword and said in a deep voice, because just now, Hichu sent a voice transmission to Murong Yu. Hichu guessed that the real 4 immortal swords might be supreme artifacts. Of course, that was when the 4 swords were combined. A supreme artifact. Which supreme artifact didn't have terrifying power, such as the Purple Radiance Heavenly Roar Tower and the Mountain and Sea Scripture? For example, the mountain in sea scripture had its own small world and could seal ferocious beasts as pets for the master to use. Now, the mountain in sea scripture was much more powerful than the Purple Radiant's Heavenly Roar Tower. Although the Purple Radiant's Heavenly Roar Tower was also a supreme artifact, every time it was used, Murong used full strength. It wasn't so useful for Murong Yu. After all, he could only use it once. If he wanted to use it again, he would have to recover his strength. Murong Yu had a feeling. The supreme weapon formed by the combination of the 4 great celestial swords was definitely a supreme weapon for killing. Its power was absolutely terrifying. However, under normal circumstances, Murong Yu would not use a sacred artifact. For example, the Chinquan Bow, the shocking Heaven Arrow, and the Phoenix Spear had all been sealed away by Murong Yu. Hearing this, Luda hesitated. The immortal slaughtering sword was the most powerful sacred weapon he had ever obtained. He could not afford to lose it. What? You don't even have that much confidence, and you dare to challenge me? Go back to where you came from. Murong Yu sneered, his face full of disdain. Luda was instantly enraged. He was a person who cared about his reputation the most. After being provoked by Murong Yu, he immediately growled, let alone the immortal slaughtering sword. So what if there are 10 more primal chaos ancestral weapons? These things are still mine. And you, after this battle, will completely disappear from the world. As he spoke, he took a step forward and his body turned into a stream of light that charged towards Murong Yu. At the same time, the immortal slaughtering sword in his hand erupted with a dazzling sword light that cut through the void and viciously slashed towards Murong Yu. Clang! Murong Yu didn't seem to have done anything, but just as the sword ray was about to land on him, Murong Yu's hand made a grabbing motion in the air. Suddenly, a long spear appeared in his hand, emitting a terrifying aura. If it was not the Phoenix Spear, what else could it be? At this time, the Phoenix Spear had reached the level of a primal chaos ancestral weapon under Murong Yu's nourishment and devouring of other sacred weapons. It was almost at its previous level. Murong Yu didn't use any fancy moves. He simply thrusted his spear forward. After a loud explosion, the sword light that was slashing down was pierced through by Murong Yu's spear. Then, the long spear and the long sword collided in the void. Bang! Bang! Murong Yu and Luda both felt a strong force coming from the sacred weapons in their hands. Murong Yu's arm shook violently and involuntarily retreated, dissipating the force of the bombardment. Opposite him, the web between Luda's thumb and forefinger immediately shattered. His entire body let out a muffled groan as he was sent flying. It was obvious who was superior. What a powerful force! Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a bright light as he looked at the immortal slaughtering sword in Luda's hand. He knew Luda's strength. Before this, Murong Yu had easily defeated him. But now, because of the immortal slaughtering sword, although he was still at a disadvantage, he was already on par with Murong Yu. In contrast to Murong Yu's surprise, Luda was deeply shocked. He knew how terrifying the power of his attack was. Even a rank 1 chaotic ancestor sage would definitely not be able to withstand it, but Murong Yu was only pushed back a few steps. Murong Yu's strength was beyond his expectations. However, no matter what, he would not give up on killing Murong Yu today. He roared and stomped the ground under his feet, shattering hundreds of millions of space-time, and rushed toward Murong Yu again. Murong Yu waved his long spear and rushed forward. Boom! 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 In an instant, the two of them used all kinds of big moves, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack and the sun and moon to dim. However, Murong Yu only used ordinary moves. He did not use Time Rule, Space Rule, or Soul Attack. Once he used those things, Luda would definitely be killed in seconds. After all, Luda's strength was based on the immortal slaughtering sword. He was only in the Ancestor Sage realm and had very little immunity to Murong Yu's time, space, soul, and other attacks. His resistance was extremely low. Luda's strength is very strong, and an ordinary rank 1 chaotic ancestor sage is no match for him at all. But after all, he has reached the peak of the ancestor sage realm, and with the support of the sacred weapon in his hand, it is normal for him to have strength. But Murong Yu is too terrifying. First level Holy King realm, that is 2 major realms across. Now, he is actually suppressing Luda. If he is allowed to grow, what will happen? This bastard must not be allowed to grow, he must die. The more they saw Murong Yu's strength, the more his enemies or potential enemies felt threatened, and the more they wanted to kill Murong Yu. They wanted to strangle all dangers in the cradle. Therefore, unknowingly, many people gradually approached Murong Yu who was in the battle. Murderous auras spread out, and the nearby flying sand seemed to be less dense. Luda, you're just relying on the sacred weapon in your hand. When I take away your sacred weapon, let's see what power you have left. In the battle, Murong Yu suddenly shouted loudly. At the same time, he took a step forward and directly appeared in front of Luda, and a palm knife was aimed at Luda's big hand holding the immortal slaughtering sword. Luda was furious, and with a thought, he wanted to retreat and avoid the attack. But at this moment, Murong Yu used the deity descending move, and Luda instantly suffered tragedy. In that instant, he lost control of his mind. Then, Murong Yu stretched out his big hand, grabbed the immortal slaughtering sword, and snatched it from Luda's hand. And at this moment, Luda also woke up. After the anger, an even more violent power blasted toward Murong Yu. At the same time, he controlled the immortal slaughtering sword with his mind. The immortal slaughtering sword in Murong Yu's hand trembled violently, trying to break away from Murong Yu's control. How can you go back when you're in my hands? Murong Yu laughed and directly suppressed the immortal slaughtering sword into the Hichu Luo Shu. Puff! Seeing this, Luda couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, Murong Yu had already swept his spear over. Bang! Without the immortal slaughtering sword, Luda was only a peak ancestor saint, and there was a huge gap in strength between him and Murong Yu. Therefore, he was directly sent flying by Murong Yu's spear, vomiting blood in the void. Luda, thank you for your sacred weapon. Please help me in the future. Murong Yu laughed and put the 10 chaos ancestral artifacts into the Hichu Luo Shu. I haven't lost yet. Luda was furious, but he didn't admit defeat. Murong Yu took a step forward and directly appeared in front of Luda, and then sent him flying with a punch. What qualifications do you have to not admit defeat now? Luda was furious and roared toward the sky. He wasn't willing to accept this, but Murong Yu was simply too powerful. Little did he know that Murong Yu had been playing all this time. He was not in Murong Yu's eyes at all. Admit defeat? Murong Yu, no one has lost today. The only loser is you. 9 Heavens Demon, subduing formation, suppress. At this moment, a cold voice came from the endless flying sand. Rumble. The inexplicable and huge pressure that was suppressing everyone suddenly disappeared. At this moment, many people's faces showed ecstasy. My realm has recovered. The flying sand secret realm no longer has the ability to suppress the realm. I've recovered to the chaos ancestor saint realm. Waves of exclamations came from the peerless experts who couldn't help but be surprised when they found that their realm was no longer suppressed. However, Murong Yu's heart sank. Now that his realm wasn't suppressed, even if there was a rank 2 Chaos Ancestor Saint, he wouldn't be a match. And there was definitely more than a rank 2 Chaos Ancestor Saint in the Flying Sand Secret Realm. Murong Yu, you're mine. Ha! Someone laughed and attacked Murong Yu. Rumble. In an instant, a terrifying power that tore apart the heavens and earth came crashing down, intending to kill Murong Yu. Murong Yu is from our heaven-suppressing sect. Who dares to attack him? A cold voice came. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Then, peerless experts with terrifying auras appeared out of thin air. Each of them was a Chaos Ancestor Saint Realm expert. And what was more terrifying was that there were hundreds of them. Hundreds of Chaos Ancestor Saints firmly surrounded Murong Yu and some of the Chaos Ancestor Saints from other forces who were about to attack. Seeing the heaven-suppressing sect stance, everyone's face turned green. Chapter 1564. While everyone's faces turned green, Murongyu's face also revealed a look of anger. Of course, this was just Murongyu pretending. In fact, he was only sneering in his heart. Murongyu had already expected this situation before entering the Flying Sand Secret Realm. In fact, this was not what Murongyu had expected. Murongyu had already prepared for the worst. The heaven-suppressing sect seemed to have the advantage in numbers, but Murongyu was not alone. Luda, you despicable man. It's fine if you're not my match, but how dare you ambush me again? How shameless. Murongyu could not help but curse. He looked at Luda with a furious expression and fire spewing out of his eyes. Luda sneered, but he was also a little unhappy, because he did not know that the heaven-suppressing sect's people were lying in ambush here. In fact, he was full of confidence in killing Murongyu. He did not want to rely on the heaven-suppressing sect's power. However, this was exactly what he wanted. As long as he took down Murongyu, he would gain more than what he lost. For example, the chaotic celestial body, Hichu Luoshu, and other things might fall on his head. Murongyu, be sensible and seal your cultivation. A primal chaos ancestral saint took a step forward and looked at Murongyu indifferently. As he spoke, the hundreds of peerless experts of the heaven-suppressing sect emitted a terrifying pressure that swept towards Murongyu like a stormy sea. At this moment, Murongyu felt like a lone boat in a stormy sea that could be torn to pieces at any time. However, although Murongyu was afraid of everything, he wasn't afraid of this kind of pressure, because his body and soul were extremely powerful, and with the help of various treasures, the pressure on his body was not much. However, the other primal chaos ancestral saints who were surrounded by the heaven-suppressing sect's experts were in a tragic situation. Hundreds of incomparably terrifying auras were exerted on them, suppressing them to the point that their waists were bent. Everyone, I have no enmity with the heaven-suppressing sect. I shouldn't have interfered in this matter. Please let me leave. A primal chaos ancestral saint who was surrounded said in a deep voice when he sensed the killing intent of the peerless experts of the heaven-suppressing sect. Kill him. The primal chaos ancestral saint who led the group glanced at the person who spoke and then shouted coldly. The expression of the primal chaos ancestral saint changed. With a boom, a terrifying power burst out from his body. At the same time, his figure flashed and left the place. However, even though he was fast, the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect were even faster. Before the primal chaos ancestor saint could even take a step forward, the terrifying attacks of hundreds of peerless experts had already landed on him. The primal chaos ancestor saint didn't even have time to scream before he was blasted into smithereens by the terrifying power. The other primal chaos ancestral saints felt a chill run down their spines. I am a primal chaos ancestral saint opened his mouth to reveal his identity, but the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect attacked him again. Rumble, the terrifying power of hundreds of primal chaos ancestral saints was not something they could withstand. In just a few breaths of time, the surrounded primal chaos ancestral saints were all killed. For a moment, the surrounding people all fell silent. Only the sound of sand whistling by could be heard in the distance. The heaven-suppressing sect was killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Although they had already surrounded Murongyu, it was only a matter of time before they captured Murongyu. However, there were many primal chaos ancestral saints in the Flying Sand Secret Realm. Murongyu's body was full of treasures, and there would definitely be many people who wouldn't rob him just because the heaven-suppressing sect was powerful. Therefore, the heaven-suppressing sect did this from the beginning and directly killed some primal chaos ancestral saints to intimidate the surrounding people. It was obvious that their deterrence was effective. Many of the surrounding onlookers retreated. Their eyes flickered as if they were still unwilling to give up. Murongyu, are you deaf? Or do you want us to seal your cultivation? Seeing Murongyu standing there with a calm expression, a primal chaos ancestral saint of the heaven-suppressing sect said with a gloomy face, Heaven-suppressing sect, are you really going to be so ruthless? Moronu glanced indifferently at the peerless expert who spoke and then looked at their leader. The leader of the heaven-suppressing sect sneered. Moronu was now a fish on their chopping board. How could he have the qualifications to negotiate with them? The heaven-suppressing sect had been preparing for a long time. Today, Moronu would definitely be killed by them. Moronu, aren't you very powerful? Aren't you very arrogant? Why aren't you arrogant now? Luda was originally very unhappy after losing to Moronu, but now he was smiling happily. You're just a loser. Go away. Moronu glanced indifferently at Luda and sneered. Luda was furious. He took a step forward and was about to charge at Moronu. But when he thought of how terrifying Moronu was, he didn't dare to go forward. Moronu, blame yourself for being a primal chaos celestial body. You shouldn't have so many treasures. Now die. The leader of the heaven-suppressing sect said coldly and waved his hand. Thus, several primal chaos ancestral saints charged at Moronu. Before they even arrived, large hands had already shattered the void and smashed towards Moronu. Moronu's brows flashed with a terrifying cold light. Very good. The heaven-suppressing sect is bullying the weak with numbers. But do you think you're the only one with numbers? From today onwards, I, Moronu, will fight to the death with the heaven-suppressing sect. One day, I will flatten the heaven-suppressing sect. Moronu roared loudly. He wasn't faking it. He was truly angry. Many people around also felt that the heaven-suppressing sect's actions were shameless. However, this was a world where strength was respected. Whoever had the bigger fist was the truth. Reason with them? Only a faction stronger than the heaven-suppressing sect, like the true martial sacred hall, could reason with them. Others? The heaven-suppressing sect was the reason. Moronu, you're welcome to flatten our heaven-suppressing sect in your next life. Luda laughed loudly. His tone was extremely arrogant. There's no need to wait for my next life. Soon, I will personally flatten your heaven-suppressing sect. Today, I'll take these few hundred people as interest. Kill them all. Don't leave a single one behind. Moronu indifferently said, then suddenly shouted. Hearing his words, the surrounding people, including the peerless experts of the heaven-suppressing sect, were shocked. They all thought that Moronu had many people lying in ambush. Even if Moronu didn't have that many primal chaos ancestral saints by his side, Yu Yangzhao alone was enough. Soon, they knew that Moronu wasn't lying in ambush. Instead, Moronu immediately took out the mountain and sea scripture and Hichu Luoshu. The Hichu Luoshu transformed into the size of a small mountain and floated above Moronu's head. Rays of earthy yellow light fell down and enveloped Moronu, firmly protecting him. Meanwhile, the mountain and sea scripture rushed into the air. A gust of wind blew, causing the pages of the mountain and sea scripture to automatically flip. Just as the pages were being blown open, streams of light shot out from the mountain and sea scripture. These streams of light rapidly enlarged as soon as they left the mountain and sea scripture. In less than a tenth of an instant, huge ferocious beasts of different species appeared in the sky, emitting terrifying and ferocious auras. In less than a tenth of an instant, hundreds of ferocious beasts appeared above Moronu's head. Their numbers were directly equal to the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect. Moreover, what shocked everyone was that the pages of the mountain and sea scripture were still flipping, and ferocious beasts were constantly shooting out. By the time everyone reacted, there were already 1,000 ferocious beasts coming out of the mountain and sea scripture. Waves of ferocious aura were constantly emitted from their bodies. Then, they gathered together and became even more terrifying. Countless experts in the surroundings were suppressed and kept retreating. They were all horrified. What's going on? Why are all these ferocious beasts coming out of the mountain and sea scripture? Why are all of them so terrifyingly strong? Apart from Moronu, everyone was shocked. As for the people of the heaven-suppressing sect, they were even more horrified. Kill them all. At this moment, Moronu roared again. Then, the ferocious beasts formed groups of 3 to 5 and attacked the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect. Ah, ah, ah. Before the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect could even react, dozens of primal chaos ancestral saints had already been killed. Quick, kill them all. Some of them go kill Murongyu. The peerless expert of the heaven-suppressing sect was definitely not stupid. He knew that these ferocious beasts were closely related to Murongyu. As long as Murongyu was killed, these ferocious beasts would naturally cease to exist. However, there were twice as many ferocious beasts as they were, and they were not weak. Most importantly, these ferocious beasts were only targeting one expert. How could the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect attack? In the blink of an eye, dozens of peerless experts of the heaven-suppressing sect were killed. Seeing people charging over, Murongyu only sneered. He took a step forward and disappeared on the spot, appearing in the sky. God's descent. Heaven annihilating divine net. Time chaos. One after another, powerful moves that affected the mind, soul, and other restraints were unleashed by Murongyu in an instant. As a result, the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect either lost their minds, panicked from the sudden soul attacks, or were thrown into disarray. Seizing this opportunity, the ferocious beasts attacked and killed more than 100 peerless experts of the heaven-suppressing sect. There were about 400 or 500 experts of the heaven-suppressing sect that appeared here. In just 2 rounds of attacks, they had lost half of their people. So ferocious. The surrounding people were stunned when they saw this scene. At this moment, the heaven-suppressing sect was in an uproar. In a few breaths of time, the soul jade slips of more than 200 primal chaos ancestral saints shattered. One must know that in the countless epochs before this, less than 200 primal chaos ancestral saints had died. What happened? Chapter 1565. Why did so many of their experts die at the same time? After the news spread out, the entire heaven-suppressing sect was shaken. Those who didn't know were even more nervous and panicked. They all thought that it was the end of the world, or that the heaven-suppressing sect was attacked by many other forces. Otherwise, how could more than 200 primal chaos ancestor saint experts die in such a short time? Heaven-suppressing sect, main hall. Bang! After a shocking explosion, the table made of precious saint material that had been placed in the main hall since the establishment of the heaven-suppressing sect was shattered by a middle-aged man. This person was called Lu Honyuan, the current sect master of the heaven-suppressing sect, and his strength was extremely terrifying. At this moment, his face was as gloomy as water, and his eyes flashed with terrifying killing intent. More than 300 peerless experts died. Lu Honyuan glanced at the peerless experts in the main hall and said in a low and terrifying voice, "Not only were there primal chaos ancestor saint experts in the main hall, but there were also many important figures of the heaven-suppressing sect. For example, the elders and protectors. They all knew what those fallen peerless experts were doing. Sect Master, our experts are still dying. Did something happen in the Flying Sand's secret realm? Could it be that Murongyu still has some trump card?" A big figure looked at Lu Honyuan with a gloomy face and said, "Elderly, are you blaming me?" Lu Honyuan looked at Elderly with eyes full of killing intent and said indifferently. Although his voice was indifferent, it couldn't hide the killing intent in his heart. This Elderly was one of the people who objected to attacking Murongyu. The heaven-suppressing sect was very powerful, and there were at least tens of thousands of primal chaos ancestor saint experts. But because of this, the sect was divided into many different groups and forces. There were many people who objected this time. If it weren't for the fact that the big figure who agreed to kill Murongyu had the upper hand, Lu Honyuan wouldn't have attacked Murongyu even if he wanted to. Elderly smiled sinisterly. "I don't mean to blame the sect master. However, the people who died were the strongest and the biggest reliance of our heaven-suppressing sect. Even our heaven-suppressing sect can't afford to lose so many people." Lu Honyuan snorted coldly. The fall of so many experts this time would definitely have an extremely negative impact on his prestige. However, it was still not enough for him to step down. immediately sent a message to all the disciples of the heaven-suppressing sect to withdraw from the Flying Sand secret realm without delay. Lu Hanyuan immediately gave the order. However, he quickly added, "Those people are the foundation of our heaven-suppressing sect. We can't afford to lose them. I'll go and take a look myself." Before he finished speaking, Lu Hanyuan took a step forward and disappeared from the hall. "Go. Retreat now." Seeing 200 to 300 experts die in such a short time, everyone from the heaven-suppressing sect turned green and felt a chill in their hearts. Because of this, everyone from heaven suppression scattered the moment the leader gave the order. In fact, even before the leader gave the order, many supreme experts had already fled. However, they only had 100 or 200 people, while Murong Yu had 1,000 terrifying dire beasts on his side. Yes, 1,000 dire beasts, not one less. Because these dire beasts appeared in groups, they could take care of each other. Therefore, there were some dire beasts that were heavily injured, but none of them were killed. Dire beasts were originally ferocious. Now that they saw blood, they became even more ferocious. Each of them exploded with a soaring dire beast chi, and their battle strength became stronger and stronger. When the people from heaven-suppressing sect saw their people dying, they were all terrified and only wanted to escape. Without any intention to resist, their people died faster and faster. "Damn it, retreat." The leader of heaven-suppressing sect roared and rushed out in a streak of light with a ferocious expression. Roar! Just as he was about to escape, a thunderous roar sounded in his ears. The frightening sound directly shattered his eardrums, causing blood to flow out profusely. The leader of heaven-suppressing sect was shocked. One had to know that he was a rank 4 chaotic ancestor saint. To shatter his eardrums with a roar, one had to be at least a rank 5 chaotic ancestor saint. Boom! Just as he was shocked, a huge furry claw descended from the sky, shattering billions of space-time and instantly appearing above his head. The leader of heaven-suppressing sect was shocked, and his heart was enveloped by an intense aura of death. While he cursed inwardly, he gathered all his power in his hands and slammed it into the sky. Boom! The heaven-suppressing sect's leader's power was shattered before it could even touch the claw that was descending down. It was shattered by the terrifying aura emitted by the claw. However, the huge claw didn't stop at all as it continued to smash down. Crack! The leader of heaven-suppressing sect's hands were blasted into a bloody mist. The leader of heaven-suppressing sect was shocked and furious. He took a step forward and was about to escape. But how could his speed compare to that terrifying claw? Just as he lifted his foot, the big claw had already grabbed him. With a poof, the heaven-suppressing sect's rank 4 primal chaos ancestor saint was crushed into a bloody mist. Even his soul was annihilated. A rank 4 chaotic ancestor saint was killed. The one who attacked was the rank 6 chaotic ancestor saint beast that Murong Yu had subdued. Moreover, because of this matter, heaven-suppressing sect would definitely be laughed at by the world, and their prestige in the holy world would definitely plummet. And if their prestige could not be raised, they would have fewer chances to recruit talented disciples in the future, because not many true geniuses would join a force like them. "Sectmaster, are we still going in?" Seeing Lu Hanyuan stop, a protector asked in a deep voice. "Let's go back." Lu Hanyuan took a deep look at the entrance of the Flying Sand secret realm, then turned around and left. He also wanted to enter the Flying Sand secret realm to see what was going on. He wanted to know how Murong Yu killed a large number of their peerless powerhouses in such a short time. However, he was also worried that he would be killed by Murong Yu after entering the Flying Sand secret realm. After all, Murong Yu had the ability to kill 500 chaotic ancestor saints in a short time, and it was also possible for him to kill them, although their cultivation level was much higher than that of those people. But it was better to be safe than sorry. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After cleaning up the battlefield, these fierce beasts turned into streams of light and entered the mountain and sea scripture again. Then the mountain and sea scripture also turned into a stream of light, and entered Murong-Yu's body. Plop! Luda directly knelt in front of Murong-Yu. His face was filled with horror, and his eyes were unfocused. He was about to be scared to death by Murong-Yu. Of course, this was also because Murong-Yu deliberately left him behind. Otherwise, how could he survive? He would have been killed by the aftermath of the battle just now. Most of them are first-stage chaotic ancestor saints. Is the heaven-suppressing sect looking down on me? Why didn't they send any high-level chaotic ancestor saints? Murong-Yu did not even look at Luda and just muttered to himself. Hearing this, the surrounding people first glanced at Murong-Yu, then withdrew their gazes and cursed in their hearts. Do you think the high-level chaotic ancestor saints are mortals running around the streets? There are very few chaotic ancestor saints, let alone high-level chaotic ancestor saints. It's even more difficult to advance one stage than to advance from ancestor saint to chaotic ancestor saint. Chapter 1566. If Lu Honyuan were to know what Murong-Yu was thinking, he'd probably vomit a mouthful of blood. It wasn't that he didn't want to send high-level primal chaos ancestral saints to kill Murong-Yu. There were two reasons for this. One was that they felt that these 500 low-level primal chaos ancestral saints were enough to kill Murong-Yu. In fact, before today, everyone felt that Murong-Yu was only SOSO and that he could only be arrogant because of the terrain and environment. Originally, Lu Honyuan felt that a few primal chaos ancestral saints would be enough to capture Murong-Yu. The remaining 400 or so were not used to deal with Murong-Yu, but the other primal chaos ancestral saints in the Flying Sand Secret Realm. After all, if they captured Murong-Yu, the other primal chaos ancestral saints would definitely act. Therefore, he sent out so many primal chaos ancestral saints at once. Another reason was that there weren't many high-level primal chaos ancestral saints in the heaven-suppressing sect. Although the heaven-suppressing sect was a peak faction, it was not a sacred ground like the true martial sacred hall. Of course, the Infernal Order was an exception. Even though Murong-Yu had become a disciple of the Infernal Order, Lu Honyuan did not know how the Infernal Order could become one of the 10 sacred grounds, or even the leader of the 10 sacred grounds. While he was furious, Lu Honyuan also felt somewhat lucky. If he had sent out 500 high-level primal chaos ancestral saints from the beginning, the heaven-suppressing sect would have suffered even greater losses. Murong-Yu, it's my fault. Don't kill me. Luda trembled as he knelt in front of Murong-Yu, crying bitterly, as if he regretted what he had done. Looking at Luda, Murong-Yu's expression was indifferent, and his eyes were extremely cold. He had deliberately left Luda behind, or Luda would have died long ago. He just felt that Luda's identity was somewhat special. This time, the heaven-suppressing sect had dealt with him with great fanfare. Even though they had killed 500 primal chaos ancestral saints, Murong-Yu did not plan to let them off so easily. This was just the beginning. Seeing that Murong-Yu did not speak, Luda's face turned pale, and he was terrified. He continued to knock his head on the ground with a bang-bang sound. Murong-Yu, don't kill me. My father will definitely pay you enough to redeem me. My father is the sect master of the heaven-suppressing sect, and I am his illegitimate son. Luda was afraid that Murong-Yu would kill him, so he quickly revealed a huge secret that not many people in the heaven-suppressing sect knew about. Murong-Yu's eyes flashed. Interesting. Are you really Lu Hongyuan's illegitimate son? What's your position in his heart? I am my father's only son, and he has always doted on me. He will definitely pay any price to redeem me. Luda quickly expressed how high his position in Lu Hongyuan's heart was. Otherwise, he knew that with Murong-Yu's personality, he would not hesitate to kill him. Sure enough, originally, I wanted to kill you. However, since you are the illegitimate son of the heaven-suppressing sect's sect master, I can't kill you. Right? It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Murong-Yu said indifferently. Hearing this, everyone around them rolled their eyes. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive? They absolutely did not believe that Murong-Yu did not want to offend Lu Honyuan and kill him. Murong, you must have other plans. Sure enough, Lu Da's heart relaxed, but Murong Yu's next words sent a chill down his spine. Name your price. How much are you worth? Ask your father to compensate me with resources. Moreover, I was attacked by you this time, and my body and mind were greatly injured. Your heaven-suppressing sect must give me an explanation. Give me some resources, such as a supreme artifact, and I will forget about it. The surrounding people staggered and almost fell to the ground. Murong, you had already killed 500 primal chaos ancestral saints of the heaven-suppressing sect, and he actually wanted to ask for compensation? How audacious of him! Lu Da's face lit up, and he hurriedly said, Murong Yu, I'll ask my father to send 10 primal chaos ancestral artifacts over. Let me go. 10? Your life is really cheap. Murong Yu's tone was full of contempt and disdain. Lu Da was furious. 10 primal chaos ancestral artifacts were already very valuable. Okay? However, when he thought about how Murong Yu easily obtained a large number of primal chaos ancestral artifacts in the past few years, Lu Da felt relieved. Thus, he gritted his teeth and said 100. 100 primal chaos ancestral artifacts. Your life is like an ant's. I think there's no need for you to exist in this world and waste the energy of heaven and earth. Murong Yu shook his head. Lu Da was terrified and angry. Murong Yu was simply too greedy. However, for his life, he could only continue to name a price. He did not want to die. 500. My father can only take out 500 primal, chaos, ancestral weapons at most. Lu Da gnashed his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Murong Yu shook his head with a look of indifference. Only 500? It seems that in Lu Hongyuan's heart, you're just SOSO. He even said that he dotes on you. I think if I kill you, Lu Hongyuan won't do anything to me, right? Pfft. Lu Da spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes looking at Murong Yu were like those of a poisonous snake, full of resentment. 1,000. Lu Da's body trembled. 1,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts. Even if his father was the sect master of the heaven-suppressing sect, he would not be able to take out so many primal chaos ancestral artifacts. Moreover, it was to save a trash like him. Murong Yu shook his head and said regretfully, looking at you, that's all you're worth. Write down your current situation and your value on this jade slip. Then have your father send it to the Flying Sand Secret Realm within a month. In less than a month, you'll be dead. Of course, the compensation from the heaven-suppressing sect must be settled as soon as possible. 10 primal chaos ancestral artifacts for each primal chaos ancestral saint. 500 primal chaos ancestral artifacts is 5,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts. As he spoke, Murong Yu threw a jade slip to Lu Da. Lu Da quickly followed Murong Yu's instructions and wrote them down on the jade slip. He didn't want to offend Murong Yu and end up getting killed if he was too slow. Come here and send the jade slip to your sect master. After inspecting the jade strip and confirming that there was nothing strange about it, Murong Yu called over a nearby heaven-suppressing sect disciple and handed him the jade strip. That person took the jade slip in a daze and quickly left the Flying Sand Secret Realm. You're all welcome to find trouble with me in the future. Murong Yu swept a glance at the shocked crowd before grabbing Lu Da. At the same time, his figure flickered and disappeared from where he stood. Murong Yu turned into a stream of light and shot toward the exit of the Flying Sand Secret Realm. During this process, anyone who encountered Murong Yu automatically retreated, not daring to get close to Murong Yu. No one dared to make a move. The 500 Chaos Ancestor Saints of the Heaven-Suppressing Sect were all slaughtered by Murong Yu, who dared to court death. So, Murong Yu swaggered out of the Flying Sand Secret Realm. However, Murong Yu immediately entered the Hichu Luoshu world after leaving the Flying Sand Secret Realm. Although he had 1,500 powerful beasts, the low-level beasts were all low-level beasts. If he encountered a high-level Chaos Ancestor Saint, he would not even be able to withstand a slap. Tesla slowly opened his eyes from his seclusion, and a smile appeared on his face. Not long ago, he suddenly comprehended something, so he spent half a month in seclusion to comprehend it. Although this seclusion was very short, he gained a lot. I wonder if Murong-yu was killed by the people of the heaven-suppressing sect. Tesla thought in his heart, and his figure flashed, and he had already left the place. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the entrance of the flying sand secret realm. "You, come over here." After Tesla appeared, he unleashed the terrifying aura of a rank 8 Chaos Ancestor Saint, then pointed at a Peak Ancestor Saint and said in a deep voice. The Peak Ancestor Saint's heart skipped a beat, then he ran over with a flattering smile on his face. "How may I be of service to Senior?" "Murong, you should have been taken down by the people of the heaven-suppressing sect, right?" Stella said faintly with a smile on his face. Although Murong-yu killed his son, Senior, and he couldn't wait to kill Murong-yu. If the heaven-suppressing sect killed Murong-yu, he would be a little unhappy. But in the end, one of his worries was resolved. He knew that the people of the heaven-suppressing sect would definitely take action against Murong-yu. So he dared to ask this question. Also, because of the special nature of the Flying Sand Secret Realm, Stella didn't enter it. Although he had reached the rank 8 Chaos Ancestor Saint realm, after his realm was suppressed, he didn't dare to guarantee that his battle strength was stronger than Murong-yu's. If he was killed by Murong-yu under such circumstances, then he would be wronged. Moreover, killing Murong-yu was a good thing, but if he failed and Yu Yangjia, who was ranked 10th on the Saint rankings, found out, he would definitely suffer. Hearing this, the Peak Ancestor Saint couldn't help but look at Stella with a strange gaze. Seeing the expression of the Peak Ancestor Saint, Stella's heart skipped a beat. "Murong-yu, don't tell me he's going to overturn the heavens?" Sure enough, the Peak Ancestor Saint quickly said, "Senior, don't you know? Although the heaven-suppressing sect besieged Murong-yu, 500 Chaos Ancestor Saints were killed by Murong-yu instead. Now the entire holy world is talking about this matter." Stella's expression changed abruptly, and he asked in disbelief, "Is what you said true?" The Peak Ancestor Saint nodded. "Impossible," Stella roared, and then he grabbed the head of the Peak Ancestor Saint and began to read the other party's memories. Soon, he let go of the Peak Ancestor Saint, and his face was full of shock. But he still didn't believe it, so he continued to read the memories of many people around him. But everyone's memories told him that what the Peak Ancestor Saint said was true. PFFF, Stella spat out a mouthful of blood. He finally believed the truth now. But what he found hard to believe was that when did Murong-yu's strength become so terrifying? However, Stella secretly felt lucky. Fortunately, he didn't go in, otherwise he might have been killed. Of course, the moment he recovered his cultivation, he might also be able to kill Murong-yu. Chapter 1567. Stella didn't regret it, but secretly felt lucky. At this time, Murong-yu had become famous in the world because of the battle in the Flying Sand Secret Realm. Moreover, it was different from his previous fame. In the past, although Murong-yu was famous in the world, it was only among the low-level saints. Even if some experts had a whole new level of respect for him, it was only because he was a genius in refining weapons and alchemy that they thought highly of Murong-yu. However, it was different now. Even the high-level chaotic ancestor saints had started to pay attention to Murong-yu. Unknowingly, they had started to pay attention to the existence that was just like an ant who was extremely inferior to them. This was because Murong-yu's strength was now enough to threaten them. Before this, many people wanted to kill Murong-yu and seize his body and Hichu Luoshu. However, after this battle, many forces in the holy world had already given up on this idea. Now, Murong-yu already had 1,000 beasts, and who knew how many more he had? Only those super forces would dare to continue to target Murong-yu. Even some of the weaker super forces had given up on the idea of continuing to target Murong-yu. This was because these super forces were relatively weak and only had a little more than 1,000 chaotic ancestor saints in their forces. If they fought with Murong-yu, both sides would only suffer. Moreover, it might even benefit others in the end. Moreover, Murong-yu's strength was constantly increasing, since he now had the ability to capture 1,000 beasts, and as he became stronger, the number of beasts he could capture would also increase. The realm of those beasts would also become higher and higher. The battle in the Flying Sand secret realm not only made Muronyu famous in the world, but it also solved a lot of problems. However, Muronyu is now becoming more and more dangerous. In the past, even people from the true martial sacred hall and other sacred grounds were paying attention to Muronyu. However, some old monsters didn't intend to make a move. But now, Muronyu already had the qualifications to make them take action. Those who could be called old monsters were at least rank 8 or even rank 9 primal chaos ancestral saints. Given Murongyu's current strength, there was no way he could resist them. Bang! In the main hall of the heaven-suppressing sect, the precious table that had just been replaced was once again smashed into powder by Lu Honyuan. His face was livid, and he roared angrily, "Muronyu has gone too far." The elders and protectors of the heaven-suppressing sect all had gloomy expressions. In front of them was a jade slip with some information recorded on it. It was the jade slip that Muronyu had people bring back. 1,000 Chaos Saint artifacts from Luda, 500 Chaos Ancestral Saints, and 5,000 Chaos Ancestral Saints. In other words, Muronyu had asked for 6,000 Chaos Ancestral artifacts. What an exorbitant demand. Moreover, this was compensation from the heaven-suppressing sect. Moreover, the 500 Chaos Ancestral Saints of the heaven-suppressing sect had been killed by Muronyu. Sect Master, this Muronyu has gone too far. In my opinion, we should gather the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect and blow up the Mountain Sea secret realm. An elder said with murderous intent. The other elders and protectors also nodded in agreement with that elder's suggestion. Because Muronyu had gone too far, they could no longer tolerate it. If there were hostages in Muronyu's hands, it would be fine, but now there was nothing. Lu Honyuan was furious. He looked at the elders and protectors with a ferocious expression, but he didn't say anything for a long time. At this time, a sarcastic voice sounded in the hall. Sect Master, don't tell me you want to use 1,000 Chaos Ancestral artifacts to redeem Luda? He's not worth that price. Elder He, what do you mean by that? Luda is the reserve sect master of our heaven-suppressing sect. He's someone who's going to be the sect master. He's not worth that price. Lu Honyuan frowned. This elder, he wasn't from his faction, and now he was using this opportunity to suppress him. Elder He smiled sinisterly. He's just a reserve sect master. Some of our disciples are not inferior to Luda in terms of talent. Now I'm curious. Is Luda able to become the reserve sect master because he's your illegitimate son? Sect master, although you're the sect master of our heaven-suppressing sect, you shouldn't have 1,000 Chaos Ancestral artifacts. I don't want our heaven-suppressing sect to compromise with Muronyu. Our heaven-suppressing sect's dignity won't be trampled on by Muronyu. Elder He is right. This time, we definitely can't compromise with Muronyu. On the contrary, we need to launch a thunderous attack on Muronyu and kill Muronyu in one fell swoop. Before Elder He's voice had even landed, a few elders had already started to chime in. These people weren't from Lu Honyuan's faction. The elders and protectors who supported Lu Honyuan didn't say anything. They also don't agree with exchanging 1,000 Chaos Ancestral artifacts for Luda. Seeing everyone like this, Lu Honyuan couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Everyone, don't worry. I can still take out 1,000 Chaos Ancestral artifacts. As for whether or not to destroy the Mountain Sea secret realm, we need to think about it at length. Woof! This is the entrance of the Mountain Sea secret realm. At the entrance of the Mountain Sea secret realm, a large black dog that was as big as a buffalo was constantly looking at the entrance and barking from time to time. What was strange was that it was carrying a little girl in purple who was about 6 or 7 years old. She was sleeping on its back. This combination attracted the attention of others as soon as it appeared. This big black dog is from the Heavenly Dog Clan. Didn't they say that the Heavenly Dog Clan was extinct? There was no lack of knowledgeable people present, and someone immediately recognized the big black dog's identity. It said that the strength of a Heavenly Dog Clan member is extremely terrifying. Every one of them has the terrifying ability to swallow the heavens and devour the earth. In the ancient times, it was because they were too heaven-defying that they were killed by the combined forces of the 10,000 races. Now, a heavenly dog has appeared. If we can subdue this heavenly dog, no matter how ordinary this heavenly dog's aptitude is, it'll probably have a terrifying power comparable to a supreme. Some people's hearts moved. Gradually, the large black dog also felt the malicious gazes directed at him from the surroundings. However, he didn't care. If those people dared to make a move, he would definitely kill them. A middle-aged man walked over and said to the big black dog with a calm expression, "Big black dog, submit to me." "Scram!" The big black dog shouted coldly, not even looking at the man. The middle-aged man was embarrassed and angry, and he sneered, "You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Today, I'll control your soul and make you my slave." As he spoke, the middle-aged man had already reached out a large hand and grabbed the big black dog's head in the air, wanting to control his soul. "What trash! You actually dare to make a move on your lord, heavenly dog? See if I don't eat you." The big black dog was extremely vexed because of Little Purple's situation, and this guy actually bumped into his head. Thus, the furious big black dog fiercely opened his bloody mouth and bit at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man sneered disdainfully. He was a level 9 ancestral saint, and his strength was infinitely close to the primal chaos ancestral saint. Although the big black dog's strength was also not bad, he was only a level 1 ancestral saint. This guy, the big black dog, was only a mid-level saint king when he came out of Shenzhen town, and now he had broken through to level 1 ancestral saint. Along the way, he had swallowed countless elites and natural treasures, which allowed his strength to soar by leaps and bounds. The middle-aged man suddenly felt his vision darken, and then a sharp pain fiercely transmitted into his mind. Then he screamed out in pain. Then he lost consciousness. What terrifying strength! Seeing the big black dog chewing on the middle-aged man, blood and flesh splattering everywhere, the people who saw this scene couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They were all stunned by the Heavenly Hound's strength. However, the Heavenly Hound's strength made some people very happy. These people were all primal chaos ancestral saints. Before this, they didn't have any interest in the big black dog, but now it was different. With this kind of strength, once the big black dog reached the primal chaos ancestral saint level, wouldn't he have terrifying strength comparable to the supreme saint level? Therefore, some primal chaos ancestral saints were about to make a move. However, at this moment, a strange change suddenly occurred. A large hand appeared out of thin air, and then, with lightning speed, it directly slapped down on the big black dog. Woof! A strong sense of danger surged in the big black dog's heart. He shouted loudly, and with a shake of his body, he turned into a streak of black light and retreated explosively. At the same time, he also slapped out with his paw. Bang! However, although the big black dog's speed was fast, the large hand's speed was even faster. Just as the big black dog retreated, the large hand had already landed a solid slap on the big black dog's head. Plop! The big black dog's whole body was slapped deep into the ground. The large hand suddenly flipped over and grabbed little Z, who was on his back. "Bastard! You can hit me, but how dare you touch little Z? I'll kill you." The big black dog was furious. With a boom, a terrifying aura burst out from his body, shattering the ground. At the same time, he also soared into the sky. However, at this moment, the large hand slapped down again. Instantly, the big black dog suffered another tragedy and was slapped deep into the ground again. The big black dog was furious. However, before he could roar, the large hand had already caught him in its palm. Then, in an instant, it disappeared into thin air. What's going on? The surrounding people were stunned and actually didn't realize what was going on. Even those primal chaos ancestral saint-level experts didn't see clearly who had taken the big black dog away. The appearance of the large hand was too sudden and too fast. By the time they realized it, it had already disappeared. Moreover, it didn't leave any trace in the void. Even if they wanted to pursue it, they couldn't. That person is definitely a high-level primal chaos ancestral saint. The surrounding people were shocked. Chapter 1568. Tui, the large black dog, felt the scenery in front of him change. Then, before he could react, he was already standing on solid ground. He was furious. After spitting out the soil in his mouth, he was about to curse. At the same time, the power in his body erupted again, and he was about to attack. However, before the large black dog attacked, a voice rang out. "How disgusting! I'll make you eat until your mouth is full of blood." At the same time, the large hand kept slapping the large black dog's head. Hearing that familiar voice, the power that had been gathered in the large black dog's body and was about to sweep out like a violent wave instantly disappeared. Even though he was still being slapped, there was no longer any resentment or anger in his heart. Because the person who spoke was Murongyu. Murongyu had long discovered the large black dog's arrival. However, at the beginning, Murongyu didn't think of a way to let the large black dog enter the Mountain Sea mystery realm. After all, the large black dog had friends in the Holy Realm. It was even possible that he had always been with Murong Xian and the others. If Murongyu directly let the large black dog enter the Mountain Sea mystery realm, then Murongyu's enemies would follow the vine to find the melon and capture Murong Xian and the others in one fell swoop. Just as Murongyu was thinking, the large black dog had already swallowed the middle-aged man. This made Murongyu's heart skip a beat. He instantly thought of a way to let the large black dog enter the Mountain Sea mystery realm. At the same time, he was a little angry. If the large black dog wanted to eat people, then so be it. He could just swallow them and refine them. However, the way he chewed until his mouth was full of blood was really too cruel and bloody. Therefore, Murongyu made a move to teach the large black dog a lesson. The large black dog, only smiled and didn't say anything. The large black dog was not afraid of anything except Murongyu. In front of Murongyu, he was taught a lesson. What's wrong with Little Purple? After teaching the large black dog a lesson, Murongyu asked with a gloomy expression. Just now, he had carefully checked Little Purple, but he did not find anything wrong with her. Little Z's body and soul were extremely healthy, and there was nothing wrong with her. But Little Z was in a deep sleep, and no matter what he did, he could not wake her up. The large black dog's expression instantly darkened, and he hurriedly shook his head. I don't know what happened, either. Not long ago, he suddenly fell into a deep sleep. As he spoke, the large black dog recounted the situation at that time. Originally, Little Z was very normal. She even fell asleep suddenly without any signs. Where were you at that time? Murongyu frowned and asked. They're at the heaven-suppressing sect. Murong, Xian, and the others are also there, the large black dog said without hiding anything. Little Xian and the others? Murongyu's eyes flashed, and he hurriedly asked Murong about Xian and the others. The large black dog also gave a simple explanation of their situation. After listening, Murongyu nodded. Murong, Xian, and the others all had their own fortuitous encounters, and each of them was very powerful. This made him feel very relieved. At the same time, it also made Murongyu understand one thing. If Murong, Xian, and the others had been bound to Shenzhen with all kinds of resources provided by him, with their aptitude, their current cultivation level would definitely not be low. But they would definitely not be at their current cultivation level. Now, they each had their own fortuitous encounters. In the experience, they had matured a lot and could already take charge. It's good that Mengqing, Liu, and the others have left the Flying Sand secret realm. Maybe they also have their own fortuitous encounters. Murongyu's face revealed a smile. After returning to the Flying Sand secret realm, Murongyu found that Yu Mengqing, Fan Tong, and the others had all left the Flying Sand secret realm. This made him a little unhappy in his heart. After all, it was really too dangerous for them to leave the Flying Sand secret realm. However, now Murongyu finally understood. No, we were not in the heaven-suppressing sect at that time. When we were in the heavenly demon secret realm, Little Z felt uncomfortable. Then, After returning to the heaven-suppressing sect, she fainted. Just when Murong-yu was feeling relieved, the large black dog suddenly spoke. Murong-yu's heart skipped a beat. His intuition told him that little Z's fainting must be related to this heavenly demon's secret realm. So he asked in detail. The large black dog recalled for a moment before recounting the situation at that time. The heavenly demon's secret realm was an extremely mysterious secret realm. It was extremely huge, and ferocious beasts ran rampant inside. It was extremely dangerous. However, some treasures would appear from time to time, so it attracted many people to enter the secret realm to search for treasures. At that time, the large black dog and little Z entered the heavenly demon's secret realm out of boredom, wanting to explore it. However, they did not gain anything. Not long after, they left the heavenly demon's secret realm. No gains? That's it. Murong-yu glared at the large black dog, then began to check the large black dog's memory without any explanation. The large black dog rolled his eyes and completely opened up his memory. From the large black dog's memory, Murong-yu discovered a very strange scene. Wherever they went, the ferocious beasts in the heavenly demon's secret realm did not attack the two of them. In fact, all of them showed a terrified and fearful expression. However, this did not happen to the others. Were these ferocious beasts afraid of the large black dog? Or was it little Z? Although the large black dog was from the heavenly dog clan, his strength was extremely terrifying. However, he was not the king of beasts, so those ferocious beasts should not be afraid of him. This was because some ferocious beasts that were countless times stronger than the large black dog were also a little afraid of the two of them. Therefore, the two of them could run rampant in the heavenly demon's secret realm without any obstruction. Could it be little Z? Murong-yu frowned slightly. He had never understood little Z's identity. However, Murong-yu knew that little Z's identity was definitely not simple. Her background was extremely great. Could it be that little Z is related to the heavenly demon's secret realm? But why are those ferocious beasts afraid of her? Murong-yu was puzzled. Moreover, Murong-yu also discovered that after the large black dog and little Z entered the heavenly demon's secret realm, they seemed to be intentionally or unintentionally heading towards a certain place. Perhaps the large black dog did not discover anything, but Murong-yu discovered that little Z was a little strange after entering the heavenly demon's secret realm. However, little Z did not show it, so the careless large black dog did not discover anything. After pondering for a moment, Murong-yu wanted to read little Z's memory. He was really worried about little Z and wanted to know what was going on. However, Murong-yu's divine consciousness had just begun to enter little Z's soul and had just begun to come into contact with little Z's memory. Then he exclaimed in surprise, because he discovered that little Z's memory was blank and chaotic. There were no memories, only chaos. This made him very shocked, because this was the first time Murong-yu read little Z's memory. He did not know whether it was like this in the past or only now. However, the more little Z was like this, the more shocked Murong-yu was. The more he was sure of his guess. Little Z was definitely not simple. Could it be that little Z is the reincarnation of some big shot? Murong-yu thought in his heart, feeling a little nervous. If little Z was really the reincarnation of some big shot, then that big shot was at least at the supreme level. If that kind of person woke up and recovered his strength, he could crush Murong-yu with a finger. 2 supreme weapons in the goddess Nuwa's temple. Didn't goddess Nuwa say that she needed my help? If little Z is also the reincarnation of a supreme being, Murong-yu was a little speechless. Saint Lord, what's going on? Is there any result? The large black dog looked at Murong-yu expectantly. Although little Z rode on him all day, he really liked little Z. Otherwise, even if little Z was stronger than him, he would not be willing to let little Z ride on him all the time. I guess little Z's coma should be related to the heavenly demon mystery realm. However, whether this is the case or not, we still have to make a trip to the heavenly demon mystery realm. Murong-yu pondered for a moment before slowly saying, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go to the heavenly demon mystery realm immediately. The large black dog hurriedly urged. Morongyu glared at this guy. After so many years, a few more days would not make a difference. He still wanted to see what the heaven-suppressing sect was going to do next. Moreover, if little Z was really the reincarnation of a supreme being, there should be no problem. Most importantly, Morongyu did not know who little Z was in her previous life. If she was an evil person, wouldn't Morongyu be delivering himself to the door if he rushed into the heavenly demon mystery realm? The large black dog rolled his eyes, but he did not say anything. He was just a little anxious. Morongyu, come out. At this moment, a cold shout appeared outside the mountain sea mystery realm. A smile immediately appeared on Morongyu's face. With a thought, a power clone appeared at the entrance of the mountain sea mystery realm. Sect Master Lu Honyuan, I wonder if you have the primal chaos ancestral artifact that I need? As soon as Morongyu appeared, he looked at the middle-aged man not far in front of him and said with a smile. Lu Honyuan was furious. He almost could not help but slap Morongyu to death. However, Luda was still in his hands, so he did not dare to. He only threw a spatial treasure to Morongyu. 1,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts. As for the other 5,000, I'm sorry. Our heaven-suppressing sect is really poor and can't take them out, Lu Honyuan said in a deep voice. These 1,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts were his capital, and they were used to save Luda. As for the compensation Morongyu asked for, they would not compensate at all. After checking and confirming that there were no mistakes, Morongyu looked at Lu Honyuan with a smile. However, his voice soon turned cold. Luda's life is really cheap. 1,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts are all trash. Lu Honyuan was furious. Although he compromised with Morongyu, he did not want to see Morongyu grow stronger quickly. Therefore, he exchanged all of them for the trashiest primal chaos ancestral artifacts. I'm a reasonable person. Since your heaven-suppressing sect can't take out the other 5,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts, I won't force you. How about this? You give me an IOU. Lu Honyuan clenched his teeth so hard that they creaked. Chapter 1569. Lu Honyuan didn't want to hand over 5,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts to Morongyu. But Morongyu wasn't stupid. Weren't you unable to take out that many primal chaos ancestral artifacts? It didn't matter. He could write an IOU and pay it back later. If the heaven-suppressing sect really wrote an IOU to Morongyu, then they would be the creditor. In that case, the heaven-suppressing sect would be restricted by Morongyu. Morongyu could use the IOU to threaten them at any time. Moreover, the heaven-suppressing sect could make things difficult for Morongyu. If they tried to make a move against Morongyu, they would be looked down upon by others. In fact, as long as the heaven-suppressing sect wrote an IOU to Morongyu, they would be looked down upon by others. Because of this, Lu Hongyuan's teeth were about to be crushed. If not for the fact that Luda was still in Morongyu's hands, Lu Honyuan would definitely kill Morongyu at all costs. What? Sect Master Lu isn't willing? Morongyu's face immediately darkened. He then sneered and continued. Your heaven-suppressing sect owes me a total of 6,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts, and you've already given me 1,000. In other words, you still owe me 5,000 primal chaos ancestral artifacts. I'm a very honest person. Since you can't give me all the primal chaos ancestral artifacts, I'll return Luda to you when you've gathered enough. You dare. Lu Honyuan was enraged and roared. Morongyu looked at Lu Honyuan fearlessly and sneered. Sect Master Lu, could it be that not only do you not want to give me the primal chaos ancestral artifacts, but you also want to kill me? Lu Hongyuan's face was ashen as he looked at Morongyu with eyes spitting fire. His entire body was about to be ignited by anger. He was furious, but he couldn't make a move against Morongyu, because the one standing in front of him was only one of Morongyu's avatars. He could instantly annihilate Morongyu's avatars, but Morongyu would definitely kill Luda in revenge. Whoosh! Morongyu's doppelganger also disappeared. Lu Hanyuan was so angry that he was about to lose his mind. If he provoked him again, Lu Hanyuan was afraid that he would desperately attack Morongyu. Right now, Shenzhen was not strong enough to start a war with the heaven-suppressing sect. Morongyu only wanted to obtain enough benefits from the heaven-suppressing sect. After Lu Hanyuan returned, an elder of the heaven-suppressing sect sneered and said, "Sect Master, I already said that we can't compromise with Morongyu. Look, he's going overboard now." Originally, they wanted to stop Lu Hanyuan from compromising, but there was nothing he could do about it. The primal chaos ancestral artifacts that Lu Hanyuan had taken out were the treasures he had accumulated over countless years. Humph! Lu Hanyuan was furious, but he only snorted coldly. "Sect leader, Morongyu has gone too far. In my opinion, we should just destroy his Mountain Sea secret realm." Another big shot from the heaven-suppressing sect said in a deep voice. With their heaven-suppressing sect strength, it was completely possible to destroy the Mountain Sea secret realm. Of course, just opening a passage was not enough to completely destroy the Mountain Sea secret realm. However, there was another problem now. If they only opened a passage, who would dare to go inside? Once they entered the Mountain Sea secret realm, their strength would be suppressed. At that time, wouldn't they be slaughtered by Morongyu? Since that's the case, then let's fight. Lu Hanyuan was also furious. Although he only had one son, Lu De, and it was too difficult for him to have a child at his level. However, it was not that there was no chance. Therefore, he decided to give up on Lu De and fight Morongyu head-on. Rumble. Not long after Morongyu's doppelganger returned to the Mountain Sea secret realm, the entire Mountain Sea secret realm suddenly trembled. A cold light flashed across Morongyu's eyes. He clearly saw countless terrifying forces crazily bombarding the Mountain Sea secret realm. The people of the heaven-suppressing sect actually made a move. Morongyu frowned. Things seemed to be out of his expectations. Of course, he was not afraid of the heaven-suppressing sect. It was just that once the heaven-suppressing sect made a move, it would be impossible for him to continue to obtain benefits from them. At least thousands of primal chaos ancestral saints were attacking the Mountain Sea secret realm. For a moment, the entire Mountain Sea secret realm trembled violently, as if it would collapse at any moment. "Sacred Master, are we under attack?" With a flash, Duan Muqing and the others appeared in front of Morongyu and asked anxiously. "The people of the heaven-suppressing sect have made a move. However, don't panic. Even if all their primal chaos ancestral saints are mobilized, they can't do anything to Shenzhen," Morongyu said calmly, as if he had a card up his sleeve. Duan Muqing and the others firmly believed Morongyu's words, so they left one by one. At the same time, they conveyed Morongyu's words. Thus, after the initial panic, Shenzhen's disciples quickly calmed down. Those who cultivated in seclusion did not take the attack of the heaven-suppressing sect seriously at all. Bang! Under the joint attack of the primal chaos ancestral saints of the heaven-suppressing sect, a space in the Mountain Sea secret realm was directly destroyed and connected to the sacred world. At this time, the people of the sacred world could already rush into the Mountain Sea secret realm through this gap. However, no one rushed in the Mountain Sea secret realm. This was because they all knew that the Mountain Sea secret realm suppressed one's cultivation level. Now, they were waiting to be the guinea pigs. Let some ancestral saints and sacred kings go in to investigate the situation first, Lu Hanyuan said in a deep voice. This time, the heaven-suppressing sect did not only send thousands of primal chaos ancestral saints, but also many ancestral saints, sacred kings, and ancient saints. Thus, a team of thousands of ancestral saints and sacred kings rushed into the Mountain Sea secret realm through the gap they opened. Kill. As soon as they entered the Mountain Sea secret realm, the disciples of the heaven-suppressing sect roared and charged forward, wanting to kill the many disciples of Shenzhen. However, there was nothing in front of them. "It's over. My cultivation level is suppressed. I'm only in the undying realm. I'm only in the great saint realm. I'm fine. I'm in the undying realm." For a moment, many disciples of the heaven-suppressing sect exclaimed. This was because their cultivation levels were all suppressed. People of the 4 great battle teams, kill them. Suddenly, a rumble that sounded like a thunderclap resounded by their ears, and then they saw numerous black figures shatter space and charge in. Bang! 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 Many of these pitiful experts of the heaven-suppressing sect were killed by the people of Shenzhen's battle teams before they could even react. In less than a few breaths, thousands of experts were all annihilated. On the other hand, the people of Shenzhen's battle teams did not suffer any casualties. The 4 great battle teams did not all mobilize, only a few thousand. However, their battle strength was extremely strong, and they had caught the experts of the heaven-suppressing sect off guard. If not for this, even if the 4 great battle teams could win this battle, they would have suffered great losses. Muronyu needed them to increase their battle experience, but he did not want them to die. Therefore, everything was under his control. Even if some people died, they would be stopped by him. Sect Master, all of our people have died. An elder looked at Lu Honyuan with a gloomy expression. They had all left behind soul jade slips, and now their soul jade slips were all shattered. What do you all think? Muronyu is probably already prepared. Our people will be killed as soon as they enter. If our cultivation levels were not suppressed, we would not be afraid. But now, however many of us go in, we will all die. Lu Honyuan said solemnly. The important figures of the heaven-suppressing sect fell silent. They wanted to kill Muronyu, but now it seemed impossible. Sect Master, Muronyu has extorted many factions. Many of them are on par with our heaven-suppressing sect, and there is even a sacred ground like the true martial temple. We want revenge, and so do they. Moreover, everyone wants Muronyu's body and Hichu Luoshu. In my opinion, why don't we form an alliance? Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. The Mountain Sea secret realm was powerful, but Muronyu also had many enemies. As the saying goes, a hero can't fight against too many people. If there were too many people attacking, there would always be a possibility of destroying Muronyu. Moreover, the more factions there were in the alliance, the less losses each faction would suffer. Then let's form an alliance, Lu Honyuan said coldly. Thus, the news that the heaven-suppressing sect was going to form an alliance to attack the Mountain Sea secret realm quickly spread. After hearing this news, each and every one of the major powers actually agreed to it. Thus, in a short period of time, the experts of the major factions gathered at the entrance of the Mountain Sea secret realm. These factions all had one thing in common. They were all at least super factions. As for those weaker than the super factions, although many of them were ready to make a move, they were still waiting and watching. If they couldn't kill Muronyu in time, they would definitely face Muronyu's crazy revenge. They couldn't afford that level of revenge. In half a month, more than 1,000 super factions or above had gathered outside the Mountain Sea secret realm, and the number was increasing every moment. This was because some of the factions were too far away. These guys really want to hit me when I'm down. In the Mountain Sea secret realm, Muronyu sneered. However, he wasn't afraid at all. Muronyu wasn't afraid of their alliance. If they couldn't hold on, they could just move the Mountain Sea secret realm. Muronyu, you cowardly coward. All you can do is hide in your turtle shell. If you have the ability, come out and fight me one-on-one. Some people outside the Mountain Sea secret realm began to clamor crazily. Each of them relied on the large number of experts behind them and guessed that Muronyu wouldn't dare to come out. That was why they were so arrogant. These bastards, do they really think that I can't do anything to them outside the Mountain Sea secret realm? Muronyu's eyes flashed with a cold light. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already outside the Mountain Sea secret realm. This time, it was his true body that had appeared, not his avatar. He decided to properly intimidate these ignorant people and factions. Chapter 1570. A city had long been formed outside the Mountain Sea secret realm. However, it was just an ordinary city and could not hold many people. Recently, a large number of forces had rushed in and the city had long been overcrowded. Therefore, most of the forces had set up camp near the Mountain Sea secret realm like an army camp. At this moment, Murong Yu was walking among the tents while invisible. However, even though he was invisible, Murong Yu was still very careful. This was because no one knew if any of these forces could see through his invisibility. If Murong Yu were to be seen through and besieged, he'd be in for a tragedy. The tents of the Azure Sun Prefecture are in front. Murong Yu stopped in the void and looked at the tents in front of him indifferently. From afar, rays of dazzling light shot up into the sky. These rays of light were emitted from the bodies of those experts. Only Murong Yu himself could see these rays of light. The Azure Sun Prefecture is just an ordinary super force. There are definitely no more than 2,000 chaotic ancestor saints in the prefecture. This time, there are 600 to 700 of them. Almost all of them are ordinary people. They really think highly of me. Murong Yu's eyes were indifferent as he sneered in his heart. He did not reveal a strong killing intent. This was because killing intent could be sensed easily. It was to the extent that his gaze didn't even stop on a single person, because that would also arouse the vigilance of a powerhouse. There's a fourth-order primal chaos ancestor saint, and the rest are mostly first-order primal chaos ancestor saints. With my current strength as a fifth-order holy king, I should be able to contend against a second-order primal chaos ancestor saint or third-order primal chaos ancestor saint. However, I can't fight against a level 4 chaotic ancestor saint. During this period, Murong Yu had obtained a large number of chaotic ancestor weapons. Other than a portion of them being equipped by Shengzhen, the rest were in his hands. Murong Yu used this time to refine the chaotic ancestor weapons and raise his realm to level 5 holy king. However, Murong Yu's original intention was to raise his realm to peak holy king. However, he only used a portion of the energy to raise his strength and the other portion to temper his body. Furthermore, the higher one's cultivation level, the more power one would need. Murong Yu also discovered that even if he had sufficient strength now, his cultivation level would not continue to rise indefinitely. The suppression of heaven and earth on him was too great. This was why there were so few primal chaos ancestral saints, and even fewer high-level primal chaos ancestral saints. To be able to reach their level, which one of them was lacking in talent. Therefore, if they wanted to break through and reach a higher realm, they needed luck in addition to fortuitous encounters and fortuitous encounters. If he was lucky, the heaven and earth suppression wouldn't be that strong, so it would be easier for him to break through, and vice versa. In fact, the more extraordinary and heaven-defying one's talent was, the greater the suppression of heaven and earth on that person. Take Murong Yu, for example. Murong Yu's battle prowess was extremely powerful. He had the terrifying battle prowess to fight across 2 major realms. But at the level of the primal chaos ancestor sage, the difference between each minor level was enormous. Murong Yu's advantage was gradually diminishing. Therefore, as a 5th-level holy king, he could at most fight a 3rd-level chaotic ancestral saint head-on. This was because he was a soul saint and possessed the laws of time and space. Otherwise, he could at most fight a 2nd-level chaotic ancestral saint. These forces deserve to die. Murong Yu sneered in his heart. Then, he made his move. His figure was constantly shuttling around the Azure Sun Mansion in the void. Seemingly intentionally or unintentionally, he threw out the primal chaos ancestral weapons one by one. They either sank deep into the ground or floated in the void. However, they were all strengthened by Murong Yu using special means. Moreover, he was very careful. Therefore, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion did not notice anything strange. With this 9th heaven demon suppression formation, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion should have nowhere to run. After throwing out the last primal chaos ancestral weapon, Murong Yu sneered. At the same time, he took a step forward and appeared above the people of the Azure Sun Mansion. Whoosh! There were more than 10,000 people of the Azure Sun Mansion here. Among them, there were 600 to 700 primal chaos ancestral saints. The others were also primal chaos ancestral saints and holy kings. Therefore, They noticed Morong Yu as soon as he appeared. It's Morong Yu. Instead of being shocked, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion were overjoyed, following which several figures rose into the air, each of them looking at Morong Yu with vigilant expressions. Waves of divine consciousnesses tore through the void and enveloped Morong Yu. Morong Yu did not resist and allowed the spiritual consciousness to scan his body. It's not an energy clone. It's Morong Yu's original body. After a thorough check, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion were excited. Didn't they come here for Morong Yu's physical body and Hichu Luoshu? Now that Morong Yu had appeared here, wasn't he delivering the goods to their doorstep? Morong Yu, you're too arrogant. You actually delivered yourself to us. Our Azure Sun Mansion will gladly accept it. The strongest rank 4, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint of the Azure Sun Mansion laughed and reached out to grab Morong Yu. That's right. I'll gladly accept your lives. At this time, Morong Yu also laughed. At the same time, rays of light shot out from his body, followed by waves of ferocious aura beasts. A total of 1,000 beasts. Seeing these beasts, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion were shocked. Only then did they remember that Morong Yu was not alone. He had 1,000 powerful beasts with him. The beasts outnumbered the people of the Azure Sun Mansion by a few hundred. If the battle continued, even if they could kill some of the beasts, they would not be able to survive. Send out the signal to the Alliance for help. The Azure Sun Mansion's strongest expert roared with a gloomy expression. His attacks didn't stop at all as he continued to attack Morong Yu. Roar! With a deep roar, the rank 6 vicious beast appeared in front of Morong Yu out of thin air. Then it reached out with its furry claws and blocked the attack of the rank 4, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. The rank 4 Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint's face changed. He gathered all his strength and attacked the beast with all his might. At this time, Morong Yu also stepped out and disappeared. This rank 4, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint was dead meat. Your opponent is me. Morong Yu appeared in front of a rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint and punched out. The other party laughed sinisterly. You really don't know what's good for you. If not for these beasts, you're nothing. Is that so? Morong Yu smiled faintly and sent out a soul slash. Pooh! The rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint was not prepared at all. His soul was immediately injured by Morong Yu. At the same time, Morong Yu used Time Freeze again and froze the Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. So who's nothing? Morong Yu smiled faintly and punched the rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. A terrifying force exploded. Before the rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint could react, his body and soul were destroyed. After killing the rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint, Morong Yu appeared in front of another rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint in a flash. Morong Yu used all kinds of moves. The rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint could not block his attacks and was killed. My current strength can easily kill a rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. I wonder if I can kill a rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint? Morong Yu thought in his heart. After a while, he found a rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. Although the Azure Sun Mansion was a superpower, there were not many rank 3 Primal Chaos Ancestral Saints. In this place, Morong Yu had only found 3. Soon, Morong Yu and the rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint were engaged in a great battle. After a round of battle, Morong Yu found that the rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint was more than 10 times stronger than the rank 2, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. If not for his soul attack, time, and space laws, he would not be able to block the rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint. However, it was not possible for the rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint to kill him. On the contrary, if the battle continued, the rank 3, Primal Chaos Ancestral Saint would definitely not be a match for Morong Yu. Senior brother, we can't send out any signals. The space here has been sealed. At the beginning, someone tried to send out a signal. However, to his horror, the signal could not be sent out. At this time, even a fool would know that the space here had been sealed by Murong-yu. The people of the Azure Sun Mansion finally understood why Murong-yu dared to attack them so brazenly. No matter how violent Murong-yu's attacks were, no one would know what was happening here. On the other hand, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion were like turtles caught in a jar by Murong-yu. Hearing the primal chaos ancestral saint shout, the people of the Azure Sun Mansion felt their hearts turn cold. Everyone charge out. Fight that little bastard Murong-yu to the death. The strongest person of the Azure Sun Mansion spat out a mouthful of blood as he roared. It was unknown if it was Murong-yu's intention, but the rank 6 primal chaos ancestral saint did not kill him even though it was playing with him. Fight? What qualifications do you have to fight with me? Since I'm here today, all of you will die. Murong-yu sneered as he forced his opponent, the rank 3 primal chaos ancestral saint, to retreat with a punch. God's descent. Heavenly annihilation. Time freeze. At the same time, Murong-yu began to use a large area of effect skill. As a result, quite a number of the Azure Sun Mansion experts who were already in a state of shock and anger were caught off guard. They either lost their minds or suffered a sudden attack to their souls, causing their movements to stagnate for a moment. This time, they were in for a tragedy. Their opponents, the primal chaos ancestral saint, were not affected at all. Taking advantage of this opportunity, some of the primal chaos ancestral saints went berserk and killed their opponents. Because of Murong-yu's attack, more than 300 primal chaos ancestral saints were killed in the Azure Sun Mansion. At this time, there were less than 200 primal chaos ancestral saints left in the Azure Sun Mansion. Moreover, it was only a matter of time before they died. Chapter 1571. The battle soon came to an end. The ground was littered with corpses and blood. Apart from Murong-yu and the ferocious beasts, none of the Azure Sun Manor's experts survived. The Azure Sun Manor's experts had all been wiped out. On the other hand, none of the ferocious beasts on Murong-yu's side were heavily injured. Compared to the heaven-suppressing sect, the Azure Sun Manor was much weaker. During the fierce battle with the heaven-suppressing sect, many of the ferocious beasts were heavily injured and almost killed. But now, none of them were injured. Apart from the fact that the Azure Sun Manor's experts were weaker and not everyone had a primal chaos ancestral artifact, the ferocious beast cooperation was much better than before. Although they were still far from being well-trained, they were already cooperating well. Murong-yu believed that after a few more battles like this, the ferocious beasts will be able to form a team comparable to an army. Soon, the ferocious beasts collected the spatial treasures of the Azure Sun Manor's experts and handed them to Murong-yu. Murong-yu glanced at the battlefield that was littered with broken limbs and flesh and sighed. What a pity! The 600 to 700 primal chaos ancestral saints that had been killed were an extremely powerful force. If he could control them, Shangzhen's strength would increase by several times. However, although Murong-yu wanted to control them, he did not dare to do so now. It was fine if he could control the ferocious beasts. The others would at most be surprised. However, controlling the human race would arouse the disgust of the other humans. Of course, it was not a problem to control a few. There were many people in the holy world who were controlled by others, and there were also many who controlled others. However, the number of people they controlled was not large because their souls were not strong enough. If Murong-yu controlled hundreds or thousands of experts, it would definitely cause panic and disgust. Then, he would become the target of public criticism. He might even anger an autarch. Because of that, Murong-yu only killed them all and didn't take control of any of them. Let's go. Murong-yu waved his hand, and the ferocious beasts entered the classic of mountains and seas. At the same time, Murong-yu put away the chaos ancestral weapons that had been used to set up the formation into the Hichu Luo Shu. Next, Murong-yu chose a few more targets. Like the Devil Heaven sect, the True Dragon sect, and other major forces were all slaughtered by Murong-yu. Of course, the reason why Murong-yu was able to slaughter them was because the targets he chose were within his range of annihilation. there definitely wouldn't be a force surpassing the 5th stage Primal Chaos Ancestor Saint. Moreover, there weren't many Chaos Ancestor Saints at the 4th and 3rd stage. It wasn't until Murong Yu destroyed 8 super forces in a row that the news of the Azure Sun Mansion's annihilation was discovered. When the news spread, everyone was shocked. Subsequently, the news of the Demon Heaven Sect, True Dragon Sect, and other superpowers being wiped out spread. Everyone was shocked, and they were all terrified. It's Murong Yu. It was Murong Yu who killed them. Someone roared in shock and anger. The reason why they were so sure that it was Murong Yu who did it was because Murong Yu had left a bloody message at the scene. Murong Yu is the murderer. Murong Yu didn't try to hide anything. After all, his goal was to make an example out of them and intimidate those reckless forces. Quick, all of you wake up. The moment you discover Murong Yu, kill him immediately. Orders were continuously passed down from one faction to another. These forces were worried that they would follow in the footsteps of the Azure Sun Mansion and the Devil Heaven Sect and be killed by Murong Yu. In fact, many of them had even joined forces with other forces. They all thought that Murong Yu was able to annihilate the Azure Sun Mansion and other forces because of his ferocious beasts. 1,000 ferocious beasts. Therefore, after these forces joined forces, they had more than 2,000 Chaos Ancestor Saints. In this way, even if Murong Yu dared to launch a sneak attack, the one who would die would definitely be Murong Yu and not them. These bastards are really quick to react. Murong Yu hid in the void and couldn't help but curse in his heart as he looked at the forces that had joined forces. Now, there were at least 2,000 Chaos Ancestor Saints. Murong Yu definitely couldn't attack them. Otherwise, he would be the one in the end. Moreover, Murong Yu's original intention was to intimidate these forces. However, although he had intimidated them now, these forces didn't leave. Instead, their greed for Murong Yu grew stronger. This was beyond Murong Yu's expectations. However, there were still some forces that didn't join forces with others. For example, powerful forces like the True Martial Temple and the Heaven-Suppressing Sect. Here, the True Martial Temple had to be mentioned. This time, there were rank 7 Chaos Ancestor Saints. Among the Chaos Ancestor Saints that came, there were people of every level. It was quite average. If they were only rank 1 Chaos Ancestor Saints, Murong Yu would have attacked them long ago. Now, Murong Yu wasn't far from the True Martial Temple's tent. He looked over and sneered. He wanted to destroy the people here in the True Martial Temple. It could be said that the source of all this was the True Martial Temple. If the True Martial Temple hadn't been unfair and forced him to leave, he would still be a disciple of the True Martial Temple. How could he be an enemy of the world? At this time, he was steadily improving his strength. Therefore, Murong Yu hated the True Martial Temple. Moreover, every time Murong Yu attacked the True Martial Temple, it was the True Martial Temple. This made Murong Yu even more determined to destroy the True Martial Temple. The True Martial Temple only has a few hundred Chaos Ancestor Saints here. However, half of them are rank 3 Chaos Ancestor Saints and above. With my current strength, I can't fight them head-on. Murong Yu thought. However, after thinking about it, Murong Yu couldn't guarantee that he could destroy the True Martial Temple without suffering great losses. As for the method of killing 1,000 enemies and sacrificing 800 of his own men, Murong Yu couldn't do it. Pink morning. Murong Yu's mind suddenly flashed with a bright light. These people from the True Martial Temple were gathered together. It was a good time to let them have a taste of the pink morning. Immediately, Murong Yu sat cross-legged in the void. An almost transparent and colorless pink morning gas was emitted from his body. Then, it slowly spread toward the experts of the True Martial Temple. As Murong Yu's strength continued to increase, the level of the pink morning also increased. In the beginning, the pink morning was pink. It was easy for people to notice that something was wrong. However, the pink morning was now colorless and odorless. However, its power increased explosively. Low-level Chaos Ancestor Saints definitely couldn't resist it. In fact, Even mid-level Chaos Ancestor saints couldn't resist the power of the pink morning. There were too many experts. Even the slightest fluctuation would alert them. Therefore, Morong Yu carefully controlled the pink morning. It took half a day for the pink morning to drown the true martial temple's camp. It was colorless and odorless. It didn't cause any spatial fluctuations. Therefore, when the pink morning entered the bodies of the experts of the true martial temple, they didn't notice anything. However, their cultivation levels were too high. If they wanted to act up, they would need to inhale a large amount of the pink morning. Morong Yu wasn't in a hurry. He just continued to create the pink morning. He knew that once these people acted up, it would be an event that would shock the entire sacred world. Lin Hai was a super expert of the true martial temple who had just broken through to the chaotic ancestors' saint realm. He was a genius of the true martial temple. After stabilizing his cultivation level, he was sent here. His goal was to kill Morong Yu and seize Morong Yu's body and Hichu Luoshu. If he could kill Morong Yu, he would definitely be one of the great contributors. He didn't think about taking Morong Yu's body and Hichu Luoshu for himself. He knew how terrifying the true martial temple's foundation was. If he had such thoughts, he would be found by the true martial temple even if he fled to the ends of the world. He would be killed in the end. Therefore, he only wanted to kill Morong Yu and obtain the true martial temple's reward. Who knows? He might even become an elder-level existence. The elder he wanted wasn't an ordinary elder. He wanted an elder with extremely high treatment and great authority. In other words, an important figure of the true martial temple. However, he also knew that he was the weakest among them. Therefore, he made good use of his time and cultivated almost every moment. Suddenly, Lin Hai felt a little irritated. A trace of desire actually appeared in his heart while he was cultivating. Moreover, this desire was getting stronger and stronger. In fact, some of the beautiful women he had seen before appeared in his mind. For a moment, his mouth was dry. What's going on? Why is it suddenly like this? Lin Hai was a little frightened. This was because he wasn't a lustful person to begin with. For such a situation to suddenly occur, it was definitely abnormal. At the same time that he was frightened, the desire in his heart became stronger and stronger. Right now, Lin Hai only wanted to find a woman to vent his desire. His rationality was gradually being taken away. Moreover, what Lin Hai didn't know was that while he was frightened, his body began to show an abnormal pink color. In fact, his eyes even turned red. I've been poisoned. Lin Hai was shocked. While he still had a trace of rationality, Lin Hai rushed out. He wanted to find the strongest expert of the true martial temple here to seek help. However, as soon as he appeared, a female primal chaos ancestor saint came to greet him. When he saw this female saint, Lin Hai's rationality was instantly drowned by endless desire. Therefore, he let out a low roar in his throat. Then, without caring about anything else, he pounced on the female saint. Lin Hai, what are you doing? The female saint was caught off guard and immediately shouted in shock and anger. However, Lin Hai didn't have any reaction and continued to pounce on her. Roar. At the same time, not far from Lin Hai, the second primal chaos ancestor saint's pink death acted up. Chapter 1572. What's going on? Aren't they the peerless experts from the true martial temple in the Mountain Sea secret realm? An image suddenly appeared in the sky of a large city in the Holy World. Everyone shook their heads when they heard that. They were also puzzled. Moreover, the image did not have any special residence. Why would it appear here? However, they also knew that the image would not appear here for no reason. There must be something special about it. As a result, more and more people gathered and looked at the image in the sky. Some of them were even disciples of the true martial temple. In the beginning, there was nothing, but all of a sudden, a chaos ancestor rushed out of one of the tents and pounced on a female saint who was approaching him. Hey, isn't that senior brother Lin Hai? He just broke through to the primal chaos ancestor sage realm a few years ago. What is he doing? A disciple of the true martial temple spoke. He knew Lin Hai not, because Lin Hai was famous. Instead, the true martial temple held a ceremony for Lin Hai after he broke through to the primal chaos ancestor sage realm. Therefore, most of the disciples of the true martial temple knew Lin Hai. The image did not have any sound, but everyone knew what Lin Hai was going to do. He pounced on the female sage. However, the female sage was not an ordinary person. She flashed to the side. However, at that moment, a second figure appeared. This person appeared beside the female sage and knocked her out with a slap. She was caught off guard. Then, with a chi la, the female sage's clothes were smashed into dust by the second sage. Then, everyone saw the female sage's naked body. During this process, the second sage's clothes were also smashed. Then he got on top of her with his spear, so explosive. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Then, they all became excited. This was the primal chaos ancestor sage of the true martial temple. The true martial temple was one of the holy lands of the human race. The more powerful a force was, the more the weak wanted to see their scandals. And these images were more popular than some scandals. This what's going on. Why are they like this? A disciple of the true martial temple muttered to himself in a daze. Only then did he react. With a loud shout, he threw a punch at the image in the sky. Even if this was the truth, he didn't want others to see it. However, the moment he made a move, a giant hand appeared out of nowhere and suppressed him. These videos are so interesting. Why don't you let us continue to enjoy them? Everyone nodded excitedly as they stared intently at the image. They all knew that the true martial temple might have been plotted against. This was definitely not the end, but only the beginning. Sure enough, the next video made them even more excited. All of them seemed to have been poisoned as they rushed out in a frenzy and went straight for the female sage. However, the number of female saints in the true martial temple was limited. Some of the female saints were so powerful that those low-level primal chaos ancestral saints were unable to do anything to them. Therefore, driven by desire, some of the primal chaos ancestral saints left and rushed into the tents of the other forces. They knocked out the female saints and got on their horses with their spears. That wasn't the only thing that made everyone excited. From a video, they saw an even more exciting side. There were simply too few female saints. Some of the primal chaos ancestral saints actually sat up with the ferocious beasts. They even raped some of the male saints. Moreover, these videos didn't just appear in one city. They appeared in many cities among the crowd. After countless people saw it, they made it into a video. Thus, even more people saw it. Almost overnight, the entire human race, and even the monster race and the sacred race knew about it. For a time, the prestige of the true martial temple plummeted. Even though everyone knew that the true martial temple had been plotted against, hundreds of primal chaos ancestral saints had been plotted against. Moreover, they didn't know who had plotted against them. This was undoubtedly a huge blow to the true martial temple. For a time, no one discussed the primal chaos celestial body, Hichu Luoshu, classic of mountains and seas. Everyone was discussing these videos of the true martial temple. Even though the true martial temple reacted quickly and immediately sent experts to suppress and seal this video. However, how could they completely seal it off? Even though it was sealed off on the surface, it was still circulating in secret. In fact, many people had already kept it. This was a huge scandal that hadn't been seen for countless years. It would be remembered and discussed by everyone for a long time. You must investigate this matter for me. We must find out who did this to our true martial temple. We must find out who is disseminating these videos. Once we find out who it is, kill them without mercy. The influence of the video was too bad. Even the true martial temple's hall master was alarmed. He issued several orders to kill in a row. Palace Lord, could this be the work of some supreme beings? If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't have this ability at all. A big shot of the true martial temple had an ugly expression as he said in a low voice. Impossible. It's impossible for supremes to be so despicable. If they want to make a move, they could directly slap them to death. They wouldn't lower themselves to do such a shameless thing. Moreover, with our ancestral master restraining them, they wouldn't dare to make a move. The one who spoke wasn't the true Martial Temple's Hall Master, but another big shot. Since the possibility of Supremes being involved had been ruled out, who had the ability to do so, the big shots of the true Martial Temple fell silent. However, in the silence, they were incomparably furious. It wasn't that they didn't suspect Muronyu, but after all, Muronyu was only at the Saint King realm. What ability did he have to plot against these peerless powerhouses? Of course, they couldn't rule out the possibility that Muronyu had something special. Moreover, Muronyu was a soul saint. Ever since that incident, the true Martial Temple brought all those people back to the true Martial Temple. Although some people were infected, they didn't act up. Because they were strong, the power of the Pink Morning wasn't that strong. So were directly expelled. Although some couldn't be expelled, they could still suppress it. However, some low-level saints only survived if they had intercourse with a woman. As for the others, their souls all exploded and died. These poisons were directly used on their souls. Because they didn't know about the Pink Morning, they could only call it a poison. Muronyu was a soul saint, so they still listed Muronyu as the main suspect. However, from the beginning to the end, Muronyu didn't appear, so they didn't dare to directly capture him. Even if they went to capture him, they wouldn't be able to. Moreover, without evidence, they didn't dare to wrongly accuse Muronyu of doing it. This matter was too serious. If they wrongly accused Muronyu, the infernal affairs would definitely intervene. Immediately investigate and eliminate Muronyu as the main suspect. At the same time, we must compensate the other forces. The true Martial Temple rubbed his temples and said angrily with a headache. At that time, the peerless powerhouses of the true Martial Temple had harmed many people from the nearby forces. Moreover, they were all suppressed by the nearby forces. If the true Martial Temple didn't give them some explanation, these forces would definitely be dissatisfied and cause a lot of trouble in the future. For a time, the holy world was in turmoil. And the instigator of all of this, Muronyu, was frowning slightly in the Mountain Sea secret realm. Muronyu should be happy that the true Martial Temple had suffered a huge loss. Originally, he was also very happy. However, at this time, Little Purple, who had been sleeping, had undergone some changes. It wasn't that Little Purple's body had undergone some changes. Instead, Little Purple's body emitted traces of purple holy light. And as time passed, this purple holy light became stronger and stronger. In fact, every time Muronyu got close to Little Purple, he could feel the holy light emitted from Little Purple's body, which made him feel a kind of palpitating feeling. He felt that this holy light had an extremely terrifying power that could even easily kill him. If this was Little Purple's power, Muronyu would undoubtedly be happy. But what if it wasn't Little Purple's power? As the purple holy light became stronger and stronger, its power would become more and more terrifying. At that time, would Little Purple be able to withstand it? Saint Lord, it's time for us to go to the heavenly demon secret realm. If this continues, I feel that something bad will happen. Beside Muronyu, the big black dog said to Muronyu with a worried expression. Muronyu nodded. The problem of Little Purple needed to be solved, but the problem of the forces outside also needed to be solved. Even if he wasn't here, he could control the Mountain Sea secret realm to suppress the realm of the saints who entered here. However, what if something happened to Muronyu, or he entered some special environment and couldn't continue to control the Mountain Sea secret realm? In that case, once the Mountain Sea secret realm was destroyed, Shenzhen's losses would definitely be unbearable. We can only move the Mountain Sea secret realm away. Muronyu sighed in his heart. Originally, he wanted to trick the major forces before leaving. However, there was no other way now. The matter of Little Purple had to be solved as soon as possible. Mountain Sea, is it really okay to move the Mountain Sea secret realm away? After preparing, Muronyu asked the Mountain Sea Scripture's weapon spirit again. No problem. The Mountain Sea secret realm can be moved at any time. However, After it is moved, it will be unable to use the mountain sea scripture for a period of time. This is because the movement requires the original power of the mountain sea scripture. If the original power is not enough, it will be impossible to use the mountain sea scripture, and it will be impossible to continue moving the mountain sea secret realm. How long will it be unable to use the mountain sea scripture? It depends on the situation. The more the original power is consumed, the longer it will take to recover. A few months, a few years, or even longer is possible. Morong nodded. This was still within his acceptable range. Chapter 1573. The mountain and sea scripture was different from ordinary supreme weapons. It had the power of the origin, and this power of the origin was actually the power of the mountain and sea secret realm. It supported the operation of the mountain and sea secret realm. For example, Morong was able to control everything in the mountain and sea secret realm and suppress the realm of the invaders because of the power of the origin. Once the power of the origin was exhausted, Morong's control of the mountain and sea secret realm would weaken. He would not be able to suppress the realm of a large number of saints to the undead realm or lower. However, it did not affect the mountain and sea secret realm. It did not affect the living beings in the mountain and sea secret realm. Of course, if it lacked the power of the origin for a long time, the mountain and sea secret realm would gradually dry up. At that time, it would directly reach the end and die, becoming a small world that was not dead. In fact, it was not just the mountain and sea secret realm. It was the same for any world. However, if it was not completely destroyed, even if the power of the origin was exhausted, this world would automatically recover. It just needed time. Swoosh! Morong's original body directly appeared outside the mountain and sea secret realm. If you wanted to put away the mountain and sea secret realm, Morong had to be outside. After all, the mountain and sea secret realm was not Hichu Luo Shu. Morong could not move inside. Collect! Morong shouted in his heart. He had already used all his strength to control the mountain and sea secret realm. Rumble! Instantly, the entire incomparably huge mountain and sea secret realm seemed to be swallowed by a black hole. It was shrinking rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, the mountain and sea secret realm was too big. It was impossible to shrink to a size that could be taken away in a short period of time. And all of this could not be rushed. However, Morong was a little anxious. One was naturally because of little Z. The other was that the mountain and sea secret realm was shrinking, and the space around the mountain and sea secret realm naturally revealed a strong energy fluctuation. In fact, everyone even saw the void rapidly collapsing. The mountain and sea secret realm was shrinking, and the holy world naturally filled the place where the mountain and sea secret realm was originally located, causing a great commotion. What's going on? Seeing this scene, many experts in the mountain sea secret realm were stunned. It seems like the mountain sea secret realm is shrinking, someone said hesitantly. Perhaps the mountain sea mystic realm is drying up and collapsing. Ha ha! Someone laughed out loud. If the mountain sea mystic realm was gone, how could Morong still have such a strong backing? Even if there was still Hichu Luo Shu, then Morong would only be like a rat crossing the street, being chased by others and not daring to stay in the same place for too long. However, some people started to worry. The mountain sea secret realm shrank. Would Morong die as well? If he died, would the celestial body of chaos and Hichu Luo Shu disappear with the wind? They had worked so hard for so long, suffered so many casualties, and were blackmailed so much by Morong. Wouldn't it all be for naught? Attack. Take advantage of this opportunity to take down Morong. Some forces made a prompt decision and immediately gave the order to attack. Thus, many people began to attack in a frenzy. Rumble. The rapidly shrinking mountain sea secret realm suddenly suffered such a terrifying attack, and large areas of space began to collapse. However, it did not affect the mountain sea secret realm for the time being. From the outside, the Mountain Sea secret realm was constantly shrinking. However, the people inside the Mountain Sea secret realm did not feel anything. This was because the Mountain Sea secret realm had always been so big, and there was no change at all. These bastards. Moronyu was secretly angry. He suddenly realized that after being attacked, the origin energy of the Mountain Sea secret realm was rapidly being consumed. The reason why he did not notice it before was that the origin energy was sufficient at that time, and the consumption was only the tip of the iceberg. It was not obvious at all. However, it was different now. Originally, when he was collecting the Mountain Sea secret realm, the origin energy had begun to be consumed rapidly. Now, it was even more obvious. If the origin energy was exhausted and the Mountain Sea secret realm had not been collected, then he would not be able to continue collecting it. At that time, even if an expert entered the Mountain Sea secret realm, Moronyu would not be able to suppress their realm. Endless danger. Let them have a taste of the pink death. Moronyu was furious in his heart. He immediately sat down cross-legged. In the next moment, the pink death crazily gushed out of his body like raging waves. Moronyu did not hide it now. Because of everyone's attacks, the surrounding void collapsed. No one noticed anything strange at all. 90%, 80%. The Mountain Sea secret realm continued to shrink. The origin energy of the Mountain Sea scripture was also rapidly being consumed. In the beginning, when the Mountain Sea secret realm had shrunk to 80% of its original size, the Mountain Sea scripture's origin energy had only been consumed about 10%. In other words, there was still 90% of the origin energy at that time. Under normal circumstances, after the Mountain Sea secret realm was collected, there would still be 10% of the origin energy left. However, more and more people joined in the attack. The origin energy was rapidly being consumed. Soon, it was equal to the Mountain Sea secret realm. Moreover, it was showing signs of surpassing it. Mountain Sea, can you be faster? Moronyu was anxious. If this continued, sooner or later, he would be in trouble. There's nothing I can do. The speed of collecting the Mountain Sea secret realm is directly related to the master's strength. The stronger the master, the faster the collecting speed. Sacred Master, your speed is already faster than some low-level primal chaos ancestral saints. If it were a sacred king of the same realm, he would probably not be as fast as you. Mountain Sea immediately replied firmly. Moronyu rolled his eyes and felt a little dizzy. However, fortunately, the Pink Death acted up. This time, the Pink Death's target was not only the primal chaos ancestral saints. In any case, it covered the surrounding area. In this area, not only were there primal chaos ancestral saints, sacred kings, and even ancient saints. Therefore, it did not take long for the ancient saints and sacred kings to act up. This was terrible. The crowd immediately fell into chaos. The peerless experts who were attacking were all stunned. When they thought of the incident in true martial temple, they were all frightened and ran far away. They were confident in their strength, but so many primal chaos ancestral saints in true martial temple had been poisoned. They did not dare to take the risk. If they were poisoned, unless there was a woman to vent their anger, they would die without a word. Therefore, the attacks that were bombarding the Mountain Sea secret realm, like raging waves, immediately disappeared by more than half. Only a small amount of power continued to bombard. However, the consumption of the Mountain Sea scripture's origin energy was basically zero. Does this have anything to do with Moronyu? It just so happened that when we were attacking the Mountain Sea secret realm, someone was poisoned. Even if it was not Moronyu who did it, the person who did it must be related to Moronyu. Some people guessed with ashen faces. Many people suspected Moronyu, but Moronyu did not show up. They had no evidence to say that it was Moronyu who did it. Moreover, even if they suspected, they were more suspicious of Muronyu's ability. In short, they could not be sure that it was Moronyu who did it. Seeing this scene, Moronyu breathed a sigh of relief, but he did not stop sending the pink morning. However, at this time, many experts' divine senses scanned the void, looking for Moronyu. Therefore, Moronyu was even more cautious. During this process, the mountain sea secret realm continued to shrink. Finally, whoosh. When a mountain sea secret realm shrank to a certain extent, it stopped shrinking. The mountain sea secret realm flashed with a dazzling holy light. Then, it shook violently on the spot. It's over. When Muronyu, who was hiding in the void, saw this scene, he could not help but have a bad feeling. At this time, almost everyone could see the mountain sea secret realm that had shrunk countless times. Just as Muronyu had a bad feeling, the mountain sea secret realm had turned into a dazzling stream of light, piercing through billions of space-time and shooting in his direction. Rumble, many experts were startled by this scene, but some of them reacted extremely quickly. At this time, they had already reached out a big hand to grab the mountain sea secret realm. Murongyu's heart sank. Just as he was about to make a move, the mountain sea's voice rang in his mind. Sacred Master, don't worry about them. They can't catch the mountain sea secret realm. Before the mountain sea's voice fell, Murongyu saw the stream of light that had turned into the mountain sea secret realm had shattered the hands of countless peerless experts, and it continued to shoot toward him without any delay. Murongyu was shocked. He immediately turned around and shot into the distance. There were definitely tens of thousands of Chaos Ancestor Saints present, or even more. If all of their attacks were to land on Murongyu would have no chance of defending himself. Sacred Master, quickly take out the mountain sea scripture. The mountain sea's voice sounded again. Murongyu did not hesitate to take out the mountain sea scripture. However, he had used a special method to conceal it. Otherwise, once the mountain sea scripture was exposed, even a blind man would know that Murongyu was hiding here. Rumble. During this process, an incomparably terrifying force shattered the sky and earth, and it surged over in an overwhelming manner. Murongyu's heart was immediately enveloped by an extremely strong aura of death. Hichu Luoshu. At this critical moment, Murongyu finally entered Hichu Luoshu. At this time, the mountain sea secret realm had not entered the mountain sea scripture yet. The power of tens of thousands of experts followed closely behind the mountain sea secret realm and swept over. Faster, faster. In Hichu Luoshu, Murongyu kept urging, and Hichu Luoshu was ready to be teleported. However, unless he had no choice, he would never give up the mountain sea scripture. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.